Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back here to the Nemico Network as we, again, are bringing you coverage and reporting for the situation that is occurring in the Middle East with the Iran war. We will be bringing you guys all the latest updates this evening. We'll be going through the last 8 to 12 hours of news to get everybody caught up to date on what has been going on. We open up tonight's broadcast looking at the skyline, once again, above Beirut, Lebanon, where intense IDF strikes have been occurring there. We also have a live feed coming out of the southern Beirut suburbs, again showing ongoing evacuations of citizens in Beirut. So we'll be watching this as well tonight as the as well as the skyline here. John THQ, good to see you. Doug Wilson, good to see you tuning back in. Alan McDreamy, good to see you. Says, watch out guys, Nemico is confirmed Mossad. Sky, good to see you over on Twitch there. I'm sure you'll be quick on the draw tonight taking clips if we, again, happen to capture anything over these Skyline feeds. Big shout out to Sky. He's been doing a good job clipping things that we've, again, witnessed on some of these live feeds. Always love to see that. Ruger Shep, good to see you. Hades, good to see you. Meagle says, hyped to see you back. I'm hyped to see you tuning in as well, Meagle. Lee Anthony, good to see you. Random Mess says, so glad Nemico is back. No one better to watch in these times. I appreciate that, Random. Good to see you. A Random Krieger says, afternoon, my good sir. I will be leaving for work soon, but I'm glad to have caught you before. Don't worry, Krieger. We'll probably be here until you're off work. But if you get the chance, maybe on your break, to tune in and let us know what you're seeing on the flight radar. I know you've been good at contributing in the live chats here over the past week or so. Again, I encourage everybody to, again, get involved as we do these streams. If your thing is watching flights up on, say, Flight Radar or ADS-B, and you see something or you're tracking something, let us know in the chat. We'll take a look at it on stream. If your thing is tracking radios and signals intelligence, things like, listening to air traffic control towers, listening to EAMs, that sort of stuff, and you see something, you want us to check it out, let us know in the live chat. We'll check it out. Same for naval. If you guys have any type of maritime or naval traffic you're watching on platforms like marine traffic, etc., or if you guys see any posts or any updates that I haven't gotten to yet, things that are maybe breaking news that are just coming out, post them in the chat. Again, this is a community effort here, okay? So, if you guys have open source intelligence that you want to share, again, I encourage you, I should say, to do so. You can either drop it in the live chat here on either Twitch or YouTube, or you can do that, or you can either send it to me on Discord as well. You can either drop it in the Situation Room and kind of leave an @ mention for me somewhere, or you can PM it to me directly. I do prefer that stuff goes into that Situation Room channel, though, over on the Discord. Again, there's a link if you're watching on YouTube. There's a link below to where you can join the Discord if you're not already in there. Same as on Twitch. There's a link in our About section over there on Twitch. Again, we're just getting started here this evening. We're going to be, again, going through, getting you guys all updated on what's been going on. We'll be looking at some of the latest updates. We'll be looking at some of the open source intelligence data. We'll be looking at some of like the battle maps like Live UA, some of that universal awareness. We'll be taking a look at things like flight radar here, tracking what's going on in the air in the region, as well as ADS-B. We'll be looking at maritime traffic updates, getting you guys updated on what's going on there in the Strait of Hormuz. We'll also be using a couple other platforms like NASA Firms, which we've been using as well, to kind of correlate some of those reports of strikes to maybe possible fires that are burning on the ground there. And, of course, we'll be utilizing other tools from our rPanel tool suite as well for some more niche, again, open-source intelligence data. Of course, we also have our red alert map up here for Israel. We also now have a couple other red alert maps, too, that I'm monitoring secondary here. So, again, if we see or hear of strikes or air raid alerts happening in some of these other countries in the region, we will be alerted to that, and then, again, we can act accordingly. Liquid Light, good to see you. Says, glad to have you back on YouTube. Downloaded Twitch just to watch the other night. Yeah, for one of our streams there, we were limited to Twitch. We also were streaming on X, our X page there, which, for those that don't know, we are on X. Go follow us over there. It's x.com/Nemico Network. We bring you guys basically 24/7 updates, aggregated from a variety of sources from around the web. We also post some of our own stuff there that is curated. But again, it's a great resource for up-to-date information on what's going on, not just here in the Middle East, but we're in a constant state of collecting and aggregating open-source intelligence data from around the globe, news reports from around the globe, and publishing them there over on X. So it's a great resource. I know some of our automated systems that we've been using to collect some of these posts, sometimes they cut off. Like right here, they cut off some of these articles and stuff. We're working on getting that fixed. But again, we've been having that problem more and more as just this, war has begun. The sheer amount of data coming in has kind of overwhelmed some of the, automated systems that we're using to collect that data. So again, we're trying to get that fixed and remedied for you guys. Hopefully we'll have an update on that here soon. But for those that don't know, we are live streaming both on YouTube and Twitch. I do encourage people to go over to Twitch. Again, if you like that platform, it's a great place to join in on. Both Twitch and YouTube are great. Again, you can join in the live chats. We've linked both of the live chats together, so it's kind of like as if there was one. If you want to support the channel more, though, right now, again, we're not monetizing anything on YouTube. We are affiliated over on Twitch, though, so it is a better way to, again, support the work that we're doing here, at least temporarily until we get monetization rolling back here on the YouTube channel. Too Tall, good to see you. Big shout out to all of the mods that are tuning in today. I know we got a few, again, that I think will be joining us here. We have Too Tall. He's tuning in over on YouTube, and then we have a few others over on Twitch as well. Slim Styles, good to see you, says volume output is low again. I should be coming in loud and clear. Let me know if I'm coming in loud and clear to you guys here. My mic is jacked up pretty good here. In fact, it's a little higher than I usually have it. Slim Styles says volume output is low. Please add 30% volume. Even to your video posts, you are below target volume. Let me know, guys. Let me know in the chat if I'm coming in loud and clear right now. I did just bump it up just a little bit there. I should be coming in good to you guys here. Let me know. Let me know in the live chat. Too Tall says, good day to you, sir. Let's get strapped in, and it's going to be an adventure this evening. Yeah, exactly. We're coming on to the air here just about at, let me see here, 11:16 p.m. Iranian time. And it is about 9:46 p.m. Israeli time. Bottom right corner, we are seeing Tel Aviv live again on a rooftop there in Tel Aviv. We have two live feeds out of Tel Aviv tonight. We have this one here, and then we also have a separate angle here. Again, you can see the two towers here. We're at a slightly different angle, maybe a little bit more of a wider lens there. Let me see here. Jesse says, you mentioned that you were having some issues with going live yesterday. I'm guessing that's all been resolved. Yes, we got that all resolved there. We reached out to YouTube support, to their support teams, and we were able to get live streaming working once again here on YouTube. So I'm glad that we were able to remedy that quickly. We did have a backup channel we were going to go live to this evening just in case that didn't go through. But again, it looks like we got that fixed, so no worries there. Ram Krieger says, Nemico Network, speaking of Flight Radar 24, Flight Radar 24, Yeti 4.3 and Yeti 4.1 over Jordan, a pair of strato tankers. We can take a look at that really quick. Here's Yeti 4.3. Yeah, we got a KC-46A Pegasus, and then an Airbus A320. I don't see the other. The other one must have gone off of radar here. We'll keep an eye on those tonight. Of course, I'll be kind of going into this more later. Interesting drone here, actually. Very interesting drone here. MQ-9B Protector RGMK-1 by General Atomics. Very interesting stuff there. Again, we'll be going to more of a deep dive here on the flight radar situation here shortly. Again, we're just getting started here. I'm about to start taking you guys through some of the latest updates here. Yeah, we got a whole bunch of news out of Beirut over the course of the day. We also have some news relating to the Kurdish forces there. I'll be getting into that here shortly as well. Ram Krieger says also a UK drone and tanker off Cyprus. Yep, we just saw that. Oh, as well as the U.S. Army Black Hawk. We'll be looking at that here shortly. Dum Dum asks, did Iran form boots on the ground? I don't believe so. Again, we haven't seen any reports of that. However, we do have some reports of possible Kurdish forces moving into that region. Again, we'll have more news on that here shortly. IDF says southern Beirut will look like Khan Yunis by tomorrow. Yeah, again, we've seen quite a few strikes here in Beirut, and again, they're aiming to ramp that up here in the coming hours and days here. So again, we're expecting overnight here. Again, we're at about what was that time again? 9:46 p.m. So night is just beginning here in Beirut, and again, we're expecting to probably see quite a bit of strikes conducted there by the Israeli Air Force. Again, we're going to keep an eye on that. Chumbus, good to see you. Contact Linda says, I watched the opening of the Ukraine war live. Thanks. Well, good to see you back tuning in after all this time. Again, to everybody that's tuning back in after all these years, I really like to see that. Slim Styles, I just pumped my volume up there a little bit more. Again, guys, let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat how I'm sounding here. Again, Slim Styles said I'm coming in a little low. On my audio meter here, I am bumped up pretty high, especially compared to the browser volume, the volume from all these sources that we're bringing in here. Sky says loud and clear. JMP says hello, everyone. Hello to you, JMP. Good to see you. Epi, good to see you. As always, good to see Epi tuning in. Juan, good to see you. Liquid Light Aerospace says audio sounds good to me. John THQ says sounds good to me. Too Tall Tom says you're fine, and I am deaf in my left ear. I am also a little deaf, again, from years of abuse to the eardrums, so... Again, that's why I ask. Just let me know if I'm coming in a little low or a little loud. I can always adjust that volume there. Loud and clear for me says Clubster. Good to see you, Clubster. Thank you for tuning in. Kathy, good to see you. Again, guys, we're just getting started here this evening. I'm about to start going through our open source intelligence feed here and get you guys updated on everything that's been going on. Again, for those that don't know, I just uploaded a video, our newest kind of update on Iran, our latest open source intelligence deep dive. Just got uploaded to the channel. It's titled Why the War with Iran is Bigger Than You Think. I highly recommend you guys go and check it out. Give that video a like, share it with people that maybe need to get filled in on what's going on here in Iran. I know there's been a lot of news over the past few days here. So, again, it's kind of a good general recap video, and it also kind of goes into a little bit more depth on just the real scope of this situation here that we're dealing with in Iran. So, highly recommend you guys go over and check that out. Again, for those that are just tuning in, this is our continued live coverage and reporting out of Iran. It's now the 5th of March, 2026. The 6th day of this operation. Again, 6 days since this began. Some of you may end up watching this on YouTube. I am currently recording this, kind of this first portion of our stream this evening as I go through those updates for the past 8 to 12 hours and get everybody filled in. I'm going to upload that as a YouTube video for people that missed this stream, that want to get caught up on what's going on, just like I did yesterday or the day before when we, again, were limited to only Twitch and X for our live stream. I uploaded that, kind of maybe 1 to 2 hour video of just the first part of the stream when we kind of go through all the updates. I'm doing that same thing today so we can get that out to people that might miss this stream, people that are in different time zones or have work or whatever. I want to make sure to get something up for those guys so they can, again, get filled in on what's going on. Random Krieger says, Nemico Network, I'm off to work. Keep up the good work on your end, and here's hoping to catch you in 11 hours. I will most likely still be here, Krieger. If not, again, you can always go and check out the upload of this recorded portion here to get filled in on what's going on, and so at least you get to enjoy some of the stream there and stay up to date on what's going on there. Let me see here. What do we got? Kathy says, good, I missed seeing you last night. Yep, yeah. So, again, yesterday I was kind of dealing with, A, getting that video finished, and B, kind of dealing with YouTube support here so that we could come to you today live on YouTube on our actual channel, not have to deal with any, secondary channels or just dealing with Twitch, etc. So I'm glad we were able to get that figured out. It was a good sacrificing that last night's stream so that we could get this stuff figured out. Too Tall says, we'll likely hear more skirmishes in Beirut. Right as I said that just now, I just heard some small arms fire, actually, coming in on our Beirut feed. And you can see smoke rising from some of those buildings. I've been watching these feeds over the course of the day. And I saw a few strikes over the course of the day. And been hearing that small arms fire sporadically on and off. Again, we also have this feed here. This is in southern Lebanon. Look, you can see people having kind of campfires here. I believe they're cooking on those fires. I've been watching this for a couple hours now. Yeah, and right there, we're hearing small arms fire coming out of Beirut. Adam says Azerbaijan was struck. Yep, we have some reports on our X feed for that as well. We'll go into that here shortly. So another country that again has been embroiled in this conflict. That video that I put up today was kind of about this whole thing where we have all these different countries that have been roped into this, whether it be from direct strikes or being roped in kind of geopolitically or militarily, so to speak. Again, my count at this moment is there's about, I think, just over 28 countries that have been affected or have been kind of somehow involved or roped into this now. And again, another thing to keep in mind here is that this is 2 simultaneous wars, actually 3 simultaneous wars, again, as I mentioned in that video earlier today. Again, you have the primary conflict here between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. You have this kind of secondary conflict that has started between Hezbollah and in Lebanon, with the Israelis kind of moving in there with ground forces and then also striking from the air these targets in Lebanon. So that's 2 wars right there. And then the big one that, again, the news is not reporting on basically at all, but you'll hear it here, is the pretty large-scale war that's happening right next door to Iran, literally right over the border from Iran into Afghanistan and Pakistan. And keep in mind, Pakistan is a nuclear-armed country. That conflict is still ongoing and is heating up quite a bit. And the key takeaway there, and again, I go into depth on this in that video that I uploaded today, is that these wars are feeding into each other. These are all kind of like one simultaneous conflict that is happening here across the Middle East, and by the hour is growing, with more countries getting involved, more parties getting involved. Again, it's a very volatile situation. I'm sure I'll be going into more on that later this evening. Twitcher says, Nemico Network, did you hear the rumor about Iran threatening to hit nuclear testing site? Yeah, so, I mean, I've heard there's all sorts of rumors. There's another video I'm in the works on right now talking about misinformation, AI-generated fakes, and rumors. And somebody in the chat the other night left a comment that, kind of really hit home with me. And this quote, I'm probably going to use this quote quite often now moving forward. But he said, "The first casualty in war is the truth." And again, I think that's just an awesome quote right there. And again, pertains heavily to what we're seeing here in Iran. In the Middle East, I should say. again, there's so much misinformation. There's so many like AI-generated fakes going around. There's so many rumors going around constantly that we're having to combat. Especially, you know, as just the sheer influx of this news and of these updates comes in, you know, it gets pretty hard to sift through and, you know, find the truth, okay? And, again, debunk all this misinformation and all these fakes and stuff. So, again, I'm working on a video right now that I hope to have up probably within the next few days here. Again, knowing me, it might be a little longer than that because, again, I like to really put in as much work as I possibly can, especially with a video like this. This video especially is going to have like a lot of hands-on, you know, kind of research where I'm kind of going in and finding examples of this stuff and showing you how to debunk things and think critically here, again, when you're looking at this information that is coming out of the region, all right? So, again, I'll talk more about that in that video. Twitcher says Reuters has live feed of evacuations in Lebanon. Yes, we are watching that right now. I actually believe I do also have the Reuters feed as well. Give me one moment here. I can bring that up. John THQ, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, I tried to keep it short. Again, John's saying he felt, you know, it was a very good video and it was short and contained enough information to bring someone up to speed with the current situation. That was my goal, was to not have it so drawn out. I've done a couple of videos recently that were really in depth, but they were kind of drawn out. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of information to cram into a smaller video so that, you know, people can engage with it and absorb as much as possible to get them up to speed. That was my goal. Again, give me 1 second here. I am getting that other feed. Yeah, it's the same angle that we got up here already. Yeah, it's this same angle. But again, we'll keep both of them up just in case one happens to go down. Frank D. Boy says, internet back in Tehran? No. As of last I checked, and I'll even bring up the net blocks real quick here. Give me one moment. Yeah, so for the 5th of March here, this is the internet across Iran. Let me get that. Yeah, this is the internet across Iran currently. So this tiny little bit you see down here is some sporadic cell coverage that, again, is coming either spilling in over the borders from other places. Occasionally you might get a tower up. There are some satellite uplinks that news agencies are using, but for the most part, the internet and communications in Iran is in 100% blackout at this time. Okay, let me switch back over here. All right, there we go. Get that back up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so without further ado... Oh, a contact says, please announce that title to your video again. Again, the video is called How the War in Iran is Bigger Than You Think. And again, you can find that over on our YouTube channel. It's the latest upload. I just uploaded it. Highly recommend you go and watch that again if you want to get caught up quickly. Again, it's about like a 13-minute video, give or take. If you want to get caught up real quick, that's a great start there. Share it, like it, yeah, share it with, you know, whoever might need to get caught up on the situation as well. Again, for those that maybe don't have time to sit in on a 12-hour live stream, a 9 to 12-hour live stream like what we are doing here. All right, so again, I'm going to get started going through our latest rounds of updates. If you guys haven't already, before we start, again, I ask everybody to go down below the stream, hit that like button. If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button so you always get notified when we go live. But hitting that like button will get this out, get the algorithm's attention, and get this information out. We got a red alert here coming in. Actually,
alarm, Arab al-Ramsha.
It's confrontation alert up on the Lebanese border here in northern Israel. So again, I expect there to probably be a few more here in the next few minutes. Give me one moment here. Just kind of scrolling through our situation room here, looking at a few things. Slim Style says, watching from Northern Ontario, Canada. Thanks for the continued real news and coverage. Good to see a Canadian tuning in this evening. Good to see you, Slim. Thank you much for stopping by. I hope I sound a little bit better now. Again, I bumped up the volume just a little bit there. G87 Skyhawk says, watching from Lancaster, CA. Good to see you. William Russell says, Destin, Florida here. No state tax. Hey, that's always good. Trey says, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Twitcher is in Georgia. 337 Mr. is Richmond, VA. Suicide Jockey is Lancaster, PA. Liquid Light Aerospace is tuning in from good old Gettysburg, PA. Gummus is watching from Turkey. Hello to you, Gummus. Good to see you. Six Serpent says that alert was way too loud. Yeah, well, hold on, let me see. I actually do have a tab-specific volume slider, so I turned this down just a little bit for you there. Again, for those that wondering, I've had some questions about these open source intelligence tools that we're using. Most of them can be found either in the description below this video, or sorry, below this live stream, or over on Discord. We do have an open source intelligence tool channel over there. It hasn't been updated in a bit. I'm in the process of updating the entire Discord server. Again, I've been working on those changes. I'm in the midst of implementing them. It's going to take a couple days, but I'm going to get that all figured out. And then, of course, a lot of people have asked me about rPanel. Again, this is our software suite that we've been working on for about a year and a half now, give or take. We're going to be, again, getting this launched to the public here soon, free of charge. Everybody will be able to use this here. It's a great resource for open source intelligence tools and analysis. Again, we'll talk more on that in a video in the future. But for right now, we're going to swap over to our open source intelligence feed here on X. Again, that's x.com/Nemico Network. You can follow us over there for 24/7 open source intelligence updates. Let me get this camera updated here, bottom right. That's again Beirut skyline there. Doug Wilson tuning in from Messina, New York. Good to see you. Genetic is tuning in from RDU-NC. Good to see you. Rocking Gruth, coastal North Carolina. Florida Marine, Free State of Florida. He is tuning in from. Good to see you. And Gnostic Man is watching from the, quote, People's Republic of Oregon. Good to see you, Gnostic Man. Good to see you. Gulza says alerts have to be loud. They do. I did turn it down just a little bit there because, yeah, again, it is a little ear-splitting, especially for those that are headphone users. But I think we have it at a more manageable volume here. All right, guys. Without further ado, I know I've been kind of rambling on here. Again, we're going to get into the updates that we have coming in. 4 minutes ago, Spain's defense minister on Iranian missiles fired at Turkey, quote, the Spanish battery was not the one that shot down the missile, but it did provide enough information for that missile to be intercepted. Again, this comes after reports today confirmed, again, that a Iranian ballistic missile was intercepted over a NATO country here, over Turkey. Again, I kind of talked briefly about that in the video I uploaded today. We'll go through that more this evening as I go through these news posts here, all right? 9 minutes ago, this is coming from Senator Mullen here out of the U.S. There's a lot of work we can do to get DHS working for the American people. DHS, very broad jurisdiction, and I think there's a lot of work that we need to do, and I'm excited. Again, guys, I apologize if I just randomly read off a post here that might not be completely related to Iran. As I'm going through here, I'm just kind of running on autopilot as I read these posts. So I'll do my best to kind of filter out some of the non-Iran related stuff here. 11 minutes ago, this is coming from the Institute of the Study of War, a great resource for those that don't know. They are a kind of like watchdog group and a intelligence analysis group, so to speak. They cover conflicts and wars. They give really good information and updates on what's going on. Again, 11 minutes ago, Hezbollah claimed that the group conducted 7 attacks targeting Israeli Defense Forces IDF positions and forces in northern Israel and southern Lebanon since ISW-CTB's last data cutoff at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So again, Hezbollah attacks in northern Israel and southern Lebanon, and you can see here a map on screen of where some of those attacks have occurred, and of course we will go through more of that when we jump into resources like our live UA map here. As you can see, I don't know if any of you have been here over the past few days, you'll notice that there is a lot more going on here in southern Lebanon and northern Israel, okay? And again, we'll go into more of that here in the coming minutes and hours here as we continue with this report. Again, 14 minutes ago, Iran launched attacks targeting Turkey and Azerbaijan on March 4th and 5th. These attacks mark the 10th and 11th countries to come under fire. So again, at the time of me recording that video that I put out today, it was when I first recorded, it was 9 countries, and then again Turkey had to shoot down that ballistic missile. We had the situation unfold with Azerbaijan, so now our count is about 11 countries that are on they're under direct fire here from Iran. Okay, now if you were to count all the countries that have been involved in some capacity, either geopolitically, militarily, or from direct strikes, again, you're looking at about 28-ish plus countries that have been affected here. 14 minutes ago, Iran update morning special report. March 5th, 2026, the combined force has continued to degrade Iran's ballistic missile and drone capabilities to disrupt Iran's ability to launch retaliatory attacks against Israel and U.S. forces. Again, you can see some maps here. These can be found over on our X feed, guys. And again, they're kind of outlining where a lot of these strikes have been occurring. Some of the targets that have been hit. Again, we'll kind of go into more depth on that here soon. Again, I'm just going to kind of keep rolling through these updates here as quickly as possible to get you guys up to date so we can go into some of the more in-depth stuff here shortly. "17 minutes ago, no injuries were reported after a rocket barrage by Hezbollah on northern Israel. Sirens sounded in Tiberias and Haifa areas and across the Galilee and Golan Heights. The Israel Defense Forces said some rockets were intercepted while others made it through. And you can see a video here on screen. Let's take a look at that real quick. And you can see some of those rockets being intercepted there in the sky. 23 minutes ago from Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on Iran, and we are hearing some small arms fire on our Beirut feed, so we're going to keep a close eye on that. Again, from former Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on Iran, quote, "I think Trump may simply declare victory. He'll say, got rid of the Ayatollah, we diminished or degraded or destroyed their nuclear program again. We did the same thing to the missile program." So again, kind of an estimation there, some analysis there by Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, saying that, possibly here, the U.S. might just kind of, declare victory and close up shop, so to speak. Personally, I don't think that is going to happen, at least just yet. And I'll talk more about that later. In a post earlier today, again, I know slightly not Iran related, but I think this is important. Finland's Minister of Defense has announced today that the government has proposed and is expected to pass legislation lifting its ban on the import and transport of nuclear weapons, potentially paving the way for the deployment of those weapons, again, within Finnish territory. That is pretty big news. I'm probably going to be doing a whole video about this separately here in the coming days. I don't know when I'll be able to get to it, but again, I do plan to be doing some coverage on this. Give me 1 second here, ladies and gentlemen, just looking at a message that came in, making sure it is nothing important. One moment. All right, yeah, that's good. All right. 34 minutes ago, former Israeli defense minister says, quote, "The rumors of my death are greatly exaggerated." He's still alive. That's the bottom line up front with that one. Again, this is the same footage we saw a few minutes ago of that of those rocket interceptions. Again, by the Iron Dome there in northern Israel. This was a few minutes ago that this happened. Actually, about 40 minutes ago now, give or take-ish. Again, speaking of which, we still have our red alert map up there, so we should see when more updates come in. This was 52 minutes ago, and again, we're looking at this camera live in the bottom right-hand corner. I want to make sure that it's updated. It is updated. Okay, so this is a live feed right here in the bottom right-hand corner. Again, and this is a video that was captured from this live feed 52 minutes ago. Strikes are still ongoing in Beirut. Let's take a look at this strike that occurred there. So you notice that strike hit right there. And if we come over here to our Beirut feed, you can actually still see smoke is rising from that area. You can kind of see it there. It's a little hard to see because it's dark, but again, that was another strike that just occurred about an hour ago, give or take. Regarding the Houthis, and I'll bring up this post actually, so we can read the whole thing. Regarding the Houthis, the IDF has established a major intelligence unit over the past 12 months dedicated to tracking and monitoring every aspect of their operations. If the Houthis make the terrible mistake to join the war, it's going to be very painful for them. So possibly another front is going to open up here with the Houthis. We're keeping an eye on that closely. We've heard whisperings of the Houthis possibly looking to, again, join the conflict. And, again, the IDF saying that they are ready for that eventuality. 1 hour ago, operations at the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait City have been suspended, according to the State Department. This comes as I just actually spoke with a gentleman that is over in Qatar. He actually just made it out of Qatar, and he was kind of telling me about some of the stuff that's going on there. A lot of the U.S. embassies in those Gulf countries there in the Arabian Gulf and in that region are again have kind of shut down and suspended operations again because some of the other strikes that have occurred on those embassies in the region. Some of them are operating kind of in a remote capacity, so to speak, where they're giving out emails and then phone numbers so they can get U.S. citizens kind of registered into their system to try to get them flights or bus tickets or whatever they need to get out of harm's way and out of those countries. Moving on here, U.S. Secretary of State says, quote, "If you ask people about Iraq, what was the source of many of our casualties in Iraq, you'll get the estimates as high as 75 or 80% of them were due to Iranian-made roadside bombs." Again, kind of another reason why the U.S. is carrying out what they are doing in the Middle East at this time. 1 hour ago here, if we can also get rid of the Houthis now, that would be super. Houthi leader Abdul Malik al-Houthi says the group stands with Iran and is ready to act at any moment. Again, another indication there that possibly we might see the Houthis also getting more active here in the coming days and hours ahead. Footage from the USS Mahan launching 9 Tomahawk cruise missiles at Iran on Tuesday. So again, that came yesterday. This was actually, that was about 2 days ago now. But this footage was just released by U.S. Sentcom, U.S. Central Command. Let's take a look at this footage here of them launching those 9 Tomahawk missiles. And these do look to be the older ones, not the ones with the low vis coating. Again, there's that footage there of the USS Mahan bringing the fight to the Iranians via those Tomahawk land attack missiles. Too Tall in the Twitch chat says, "Grandpa, my hands hurt. I don't care. Get back to building more Tomahawks." Yep. So again, that comment comes as there's been some reports coming out today that the U.S. is looking to increase their manufacturing capacity in the coming weeks here to produce more missiles across the board, not just Tomahawks, but more munitions in general. And I'm sure we'll have some reports on that for you here tonight in our feed. 1 hour ago, the IDF says it has eliminated Hezbollah's head of firepower management in Beirut. According to the military, the Israeli Air Force, guided by military intelligence, carried out a strike in Beirut area yesterday, killing that head, again, of firepower management. Put that on your LinkedIn as your title, a head of firepower management. Let's take a look at this video here, again, that the IDF released showing that exact strike. One hour ago from the study of war, the U.S.-Israeli combined strike campaign is targeting missile and drone production and storage facilities throughout Iran. 1 hour ago, quote, "After completing the stage of surprise opening strike in which we created air superiority and suppressed the ballistic missile array, we are now moving to the next stage of the campaign in which we will increase the damage to the regimes Give me a second here. Okay, yes, so the IDF Chief of Staff says Israel has crippled Iran's air defenses and now dominates its skies. Quote, "Israel has destroyed 80% of Iran's defense systems and achieved almost complete air superiority of the skies of Iran. The Israeli Air Force has carried out 2,500 strikes. That is a very large number, and dropped over 6,000 munitions across Iran. Quote, "We have neutralized and destroyed more than 60% of the ballistic missile launchers." And again, guys, this is a game of killing the archer, not the arrow. All right, as one of my favorite YouTubers, Ryan Macbeth, likes to say, you got to go after the archer and not the arrow here. It's not about destroying the stockpiles of missiles themselves, although that is important. It's about striking the launchers, both the mobile launch platforms and the ground-based static launch platforms. If you take those out, it doesn't matter how many missiles they have because they can't get them off the ground. Again, this comes as they're looking to kind of change their focus here. They're going to move into striking different targets, things like more of the regime's command and control structure, more of their communications, and especially targeting more of those drone sites, both the drone storage sites and the kind of airstrips and locations that they're launching those UAVs from. From U.S. President Donald Trump about an hour ago, he said, "I am pleased to announce the highly respected United States Senator from the great state of Oklahoma will become the United States Secretary of Homeland Security effective March 31st, 2026. So we are getting a new Secretary of Homeland Security here in the coming days here in the United States. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announces that the United States has officially requested the assistance of Ukraine in supporting defense against Iranian Shahed-style attack drones in the Middle East. He said here, "We received a request from the United States for specific support and protection against the Shaheds in the Middle East region. I gave instructions to provide the necessary means and ensure the presence of Ukrainian specialists who can guarantee the required security." Ukraine helps partners who help ensure our security and protect lives of our people, and then glory to Ukraine. Now, again, this we've had a couple reports over this week. They're sending counter UAV specialists there to the Middle East to again help and aid in thwarting some of these UAV strikes that are being conducted by the Iranians. And I think their expertise here will most likely come in very handy again in the coming days here. Speaking more to that, Ukraine is likely to trade this assistance for key munitions less useful in the Middle East, like those Patriot PAC-2 missiles. So again, they're getting something out of this here. They're gonna help us counter these Iranian UAVs, and in turn, we're gonna give them some of those Patriot PAC-2s that aren't necessarily as useful in this situation here in the Middle East, but again, would help them out a ton over in Ukraine. Too Tall says it would be interesting to know what type of unorthodox camouflage Iran is using to hide those launchers. That would be very interesting. I'm sure one way to find out would be to take a look at some of the Maxar imagery, some of the satellite imagery that's coming out from the region. I'm sure if you dug deep enough, you could definitely spot some of that. Trump 2 hours ago in a statement says they have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no detection of air. It's all wiped out. Their radar is all wiped out. Their military is decimated. All they have is guts, he said. Again, that's coming from Politico, directly from President Trump there. Trump said he's not concerned about rising gas prices. That comes as our price per barrel for oil today has just hit $80. Again, before this all kicked off, the night that this kicked off, again, that was over the weekend, from Friday the 27th to Monday, it was sitting at $67.29 a barrel. As soon as this kicked off and Monday rolled around and the markets opened up, it immediately jumped up to $71.10 USD a barrel, and it is now sitting at around $81.61 a barrel. Give or take. Again, the market's fluctuating as the markets are still open right now. I'm looking at my 5-day chart here, and again, we're sitting at about $81.61 per barrel for oil. I can actually show you that here. About $81.61. Current price $79.94. But again, our chart topped off today at $81.61, and we'll see what this looks like when markets close later today. 2 hours ago, military equipment was spotted en route to the Kurdistan region's border with Iran. Kurdistan regional government says they are only for border protection. And again, this comes as we've seen other reports of the Kurds getting more involved here. And I know we had reports of the CIA has been backing the Kurds, providing weapons to them and intelligence and all sorts of good stuff that they need to conduct any possible operations here, both within Iraq and in Iran. But again, this footage here shows military equipment heading, again, to that border region. You can see that here on screen. We'll take a look at that. So I know we got some new information coming out here, some new reports. I'm going to get into those in just a moment here. Let me go through a few more of these, and then I'll get our feed. I'll get another tab of our feed opened up so I can show you the new stuff. And then when we run out of new stuff, we'll switch back over here and we'll keep going through the old stuff again. I want to get down to about the 8-hour mark, again, to get everybody caught up on what's going on. 2 hours ago, this was an interview with Iran's foreign minister here. The reporter asked, "Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion?" And the Iranian foreign minister says, "No, we are waiting for them." The reporter says, "You are waiting for the U.S. ground troops?" And he says, "Yes." Let's take a listen at this video again. This came from NBC.
boots on the ground in Iran, are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
So you're saying that Iran is ready and willing to take on the U.S. military if there were to be ground troops?
Well, we were ready for this war even more than the previous war. So you can see, the quality of our missiles, how much they are upgraded after the last war, because we learned lots of lessons. And we are prepared for any other eventuality, even, a ground invasion. So our soldiers are prepared for any scenario. When I said that we are waiting for them, it didn't mean that we are waiting for continuation of the war. No, but we have prepared ourselves to confront with any scenario, with any eventuality, any possibility, and we know that we can handle that.
Are your allies Russia and China helping you?
Well, they are supporting us politically and otherwise.
So again, clearly some major cope coming from the Iranian foreign minister there. Speaking about U.S. ground troop involvement, I have, again, a video I'm working on. There's a few in the pipeline here. I know I've mentioned some of the other ones that I'm working on, but in the coming days, I do have a video that I'm planning to put up going into some of my analysis on the possibility of U.S. ground troops and what I think about that. Bottom line up front there, again, I don't think it is likely that we will see a major U.S. invasion of ground troops into Iran. I've spoken about this in my previous reports. Again, my assessment is that we will most likely have, if we do have any ground troops on the ground, it will be in a limited scope, most likely U.S. special operations units, again, most likely supporting foreign fighters, probably those Kurdish fighters that I mentioned a few moments ago, supporting them on the ground to attack very specific targets and within Iran. Okay, we're probably not going to see deployment of ground troops. That's coming both from the open source intelligence data and the reports that I've seen. Again, is kind of leading to that assessment, and also kind of just the internal what's the word I'm looking for here? Kind of the internal feeling in the air here amongst some of the other military members that I know and speak with. All right, it does not look like that's going to happen right now with all the capability that we have in theater, with everything we've been able to accomplish over 6 days. I mean, we've done more in Iran in 6 days than it would have taken. I mean, like, we've done way more than just that 12-day war that Israeli carried out. I mean, it's an order of magnitude more that they've been able to accomplish just with the capability that they have in theater. Again, with that U.S. deep strike capability, with the Israeli strike capability, there is no target that we cannot hit within Iran. And so with the assets that we have in the region, like those Kurdish fighters, like the Iranian people, like the Iranian Artesh, the possibility that the Artesh itself will possibly rise up or stage a coup of some kind. Again, it's more likely that those forces will be the driving factor on the ground in Iran rather than U.S. troops. And again, that remains my assessment, and I go into more depth and detail on that in this video that I hope to get out to you guys in the next few days here, so keep an eye out for that. 2 hours ago, the IRGC claims it targeted the USS Abraham Lincoln with drones 340 kilometers from Iran near the Strait of Hormuz, saying the carrier withdrew over 1,000 kilometers after the attack. This is not confirmed, and at the moment, I would, again, take this as Iranian propaganda. As we know from other reports that have come out over the past few hours, the USS Abraham Lincoln, at this very moment as I'm bringing you this report, is still very close to the Strait of Hormuz and is operating in a very high operations tempo here within Iran, sending strikes into Iran, again, as I'm bringing you this report. 2 hours ago, Arab states in the Persian Gulf are running dangerously low on interceptors to take down Iranian-fired ballistic and cruise missiles as governments in the region have asked the United States to expedite new supplies. Again, with them being told that it will probably take a while to get them more interceptors. So that's kind of the key question here right now is, do these Gulf nations have enough of these interceptors and countermeasures to last them until the U.S. can resupply them, or other nations can resupply them? Until they can get those supplies from whomever, do they have enough munition stockpiles, enough of these interceptors to, again, hold up their defenses until then? That's the big $1 million question right now. So far, from what I've seen, with the decrease in Iranian ballistic missile launches due to them losing that launch capability by from us and the Israelis striking those launch platforms, things like those mobile launch platforms, those static ground launch platforms, with their strike capability decreasing, I think they will be able to make it at least the next week or so. That's my assessment at this moment. Especially since there are fighter aircraft moving into theater. These nations themselves are getting fighter aircraft up off the ground to intercept more of those Iranian drones. Because as I mentioned before, as Iran's missile launch capability has decreased, they've started to increase and rely more heavily on the use of those one-way attack drones, those UAVs. So again, with these nations, starting to get more aircraft in the air that are capable of intercepting those drones, because we don't need a missile interceptor to take down a drone. We can do that with a jet. We can do that with a helicopter. I know, again, we've seen the IDF utilizing Apaches to take down these drones. Again, there are many capabilities that we have to take those out. So that, again, we don't have to utilize these interceptors are mainly for ballistic missiles that are incoming, okay? And I think with the current stockpile that they have there, they should be able to last until they get resupplied from another country nearby. So I wouldn't worry about this too much. But right now, that's the $1 million question that everybody seems to be asking, is if they will have enough of those interceptors to last them. Will the U.S. have enough interceptors to protect their installations? I believe so. I don't think that's even in the question. Again, that's one of the reasons why they're not immediately able to restock these nations there in the Gulf, is because they need to make sure that they at least hold enough of those interceptors to protect U.S. installations and bases in the region, and installations of our partners as well. But they are bringing more in. In fact, we've been looking at, I'll go into the flight radar stuff later, but we've been watching all sorts of flights coming in. People have asked, what are all these C-17s doing? What are all these cargo flights doing? They are bringing in those munitions, both offensive munitions and defensive munitions, like these interceptors that we're talking about right now. Too Tall says, I appreciate the Joint Chief of Staff declining to answer questions on those inventories. Yeah, again, OPSEC. It's all about OPSEC there. I mean, we can't give away, you know what I mean? There's certain things that we just can't give away to the public, or release to the public. Again, because if our enemy knows that, they can plan accordingly. They can work around certain things, and possibly get the upper hand. So again, OPSEC is extremely, extremely important. 2 hours ago, Israel's National Security Council warns Israelis abroad to exercise increased vigilance due to a concrete concern that terrorist elements are currently operating to harm Israelis. Give me 1 second here, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, and as Life Isn't All That Great says in the Twitch chat, and those planes are massive, folks. If you haven't seen them, it isn't a passenger plane. Exactly. Those cargo flights, those C-17s and stuff, they can hold a lot of munitions. A lot of those interceptors can be loaded on those flights, and they are bringing those flights in 24/7. Those flights are coming into the region. As we've seen in some of my past live streams over this week, we've watched those cargo flights, both contractor flights, so not directly military, but they are bringing in other cargo on contractor flights, as well as military flights, like with those C-17 Globemasters, etc. They're coming in constantly, all day long. They're bringing stuff into the region. So, again, I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. Again, talking more about that, Gulf states are running dangerously low on interceptors. Regional governments have asked the U.S. to expedite new supplies. Washington is creating a task force currently, but it isn't happening fast enough, to Gulf officials told CBS. Again, I think they're going to resolve this issue pretty quickly. They understand, the United States military understands that this is an issue, and they are going to tackle that systematically. And just there, we just saw a strike in Beirut on our feed there. I'm trying to spot where that, I believe it was over here somewhere. But again, for those just tuning in, we just saw a strike occur here, an explosion occur here. That might have been just a roof knock, actually, because I don't see too much of a cloud from that explosion, which is usually indicative of a smaller munition that was used, again, potentially for a roof knock. Again, we'll keep an eye on this feed, because that usually means that a large strike is going to happen. Again, we'll keep going here. We'll keep an eye on that feed. Keep an eye on it, lower right corner there. 2 hours ago, the IRGC infrastructure, equipment, and weapons were not damaged, contrary to Washington's claims. That's coming from an Iranian official pertaining to a strike that occurred earlier today. 2 hours ago, Hezbollah must immediately cease firing into Israel. Israel must refrain from any ground or large-scale intervention on Lebanese territory. This is coming from French President Macron. He's trying to kind of be an intermediary here. He also said, I urge Iranian officials to not further involve Lebanon in a war that is not theirs. So again, some words that are coming from French President Macron. This was posted kind of in response to the Iranian foreign minister's statements that he made earlier on NBC. I feel like this was, kind of his mindset that he's in right now. I felt that was relevant. Again, directly speaking about this. He actually made some other statements in that video. We'll go ahead and give them a listen here now.
Well, then what they have achieved? What was their goal? They came here for a regime change, perhaps. They came here for a rapid victory, so they can, control everything. But they have failed. The system is working. The commanders have been replaced, and the supreme leader is going to be replaced soon, according to the procedures set by the Constitution. So everything is in order. Yes, we have been targeted, but we have also attacked so many targets in Israel, and so many targets belongs to the Americans. What they have achieved? What was their goal?
Again, more statements there from the Iranian foreign minister. Again, for those just joining us, we're going through and getting you guys updated on everything that has happened over like the past 8-ish hours here. If you haven't already, hit the like button down below the stream. Again, helps get this out to more people, helps get that algorithm's attention. 2 hours ago here, this is from French President Macron. Again, another statement by him. He says, quote, the Lebanese have a right to peace and security like everyone else in the Middle East. Again, him trying to be kind of a intermediary here between Lebanon and Israel. 2 hours ago here, very close air defense activity just seen above the skyscrapers of Abu Dhabi. Defenses appear to intercept successfully. Let's take a look at this video here. You can see that interceptor there. Pretty close to being a hit there. Looks like that interceptor took that missile out just in the nick of time. So Roger Duck, not sure how I pronounce that last name there, but he says in the live chat, So there's this narrative that interceptors and missiles for the U.S. and allies might run out. How is Iran able to hold on? I'd imagine the U.S. is targeting all storage facilities. So again, Roger, good question. And I talked about this earlier, but it's more about taking out their launch platforms. If Iran has no launch platforms, they can't launch missiles. That's like the bigger thing here. The bigger key item here is that if Iran has none of those launchers, they can't launch the missiles. And again, this narrative that we're going to run out of interceptors, again, I think is a null point if Iran has no launch capability. As their launch capability decreases, that will buy us more time to get more interceptors into the region. So I think we'll have that covered here. 2 hours ago, Sri Lanka's president says Iranian crew members are being offloaded from a ship off its coast. An earlier report from this past hour claiming a U.S. submarine sank an Iranian warship near Sri Lanka was incorrect and had been deleted. 2 hours ago, Trump says the U.S. will not be a team player with Spain. That comes after Spain has came out and expressed its disapproval of the war in Iran, and has even severed some cooperation agreements with the U.S. Pertaining to military and stuff like that. Oh, we're getting another alert here.
Hostile aircraft intrusion.
Pisrasmiya, Beit Jan, Peki'in, Kfar Vradim, Chosen, Ma'alot Tarshicha, Ma'ona, Tsuriel, Khorfesh, Mi'ilya, Alkosh, Matat, Sde Meron School, Peki'in HaChadasha, Migdal Tefen, Harashim, Yanuach Jat.
So we got some more alerts there coming in just now. Hostile aircraft intrusion in northern Israel here. So again, that's most likely a drone coming
Har
from
Chalutz,
Hezbollah.
Alarm, Tsuriel,
And
Khorfesh.
we're getting red alerts. We're getting red alerts as well at this moment.
Hostile aircraft intrusion.
Sajur, Nachif, Rama, Carmiel Industrial Zone, Shezor, Lavon, Lapidot, Gita, Beina, Der El Asad, Carmiel, Kamon, Kishor, En El Asad, Yerka, Majd Al Krum, Michmanim, Ras Al En, Moran, Chusnia, Tuval.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on this here. I'm expecting, again, we'll have some probably updates coming in here shortly on this, but this is most likely, again, a drone that's being launched from Lebanon into Israel.
Pelech, Chazon, Eshchar.
Tajan Taro,
Surit,
Shad-
Gilon.
Tajan Tario, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, says Stratotanker all alone on radar on border between Iraq and Kuwait. Wonder how many stealth escorts it has. We could take a look at that real quick, actually. Yeah, I'll definitely go into more depth here really quick, but this is interesting. This General Atomics MQ-9B protector, which I believe is a early warning. I'm not as familiar with this drone type, but I believe it's an early warning. Okay, no. So, and we're hearing. Oh, yep, right there, front and center. So that was a roof knock we heard just a short while ago, ladies and gentlemen. That was indeed a roof knock, because we have a pretty sizable strike here on screen. Again, speaking more about that drone that's off the shores of Cyprus is an advanced armed multi-mission remotely piloted aircraft developed by General Atomics for the UK Royal Air Force, designed to replace the MQ-9 Reaper. So it's basically like the MQ-9 Reaper's cousin. It offers 30 hours of endurance, so it can stay aloft in the air for 30 hours. It has enhanced surveillance and, crucially, certification to fly in unsegregated civilian airspace as well. So they are most likely utilizing that to intercept any drones that might be coming from Lebanon or possibly even Iran into Cyprus here, which is interesting because they've switched. I mean, they most likely do still have fighter aircraft up and probably a tanker as well up in this area, but again, it's pretty interesting to see they've now have this drone up. That's kind of a new development there. So again, for those just tuning in, we just saw this massive strike. Hyper asks, why is it all about Beirut now, the war in Beirut? Again, it's a new front that has opened up here. Again, we've had kind of front row seats here via these live feeds. We don't have any feeds out of Iran, so we can kind of keep more of an eye on what's going on here in Beirut with these strikes. And of course, this is just probably a few miles south of where that strike just occurred here, okay? All these people are trying to get out of the city, out of Beirut. This is live right now, coming in. Actually, it's a few seconds behind. Let me update. There we go. This is live, coming out of Beirut right now. Again, as people are frantically trying to make it out of the city. People are camping along these roadways here to stay out of the city and away from these strikes that are occurring. Looks like Sky clipped that for us. Let me check that clip real quick. Let me check your work there. Oh, and we're hearing good work on that one. Oh, yep, right there, front and center. So that was a roof knock. We heard just good work on that one, Sky. Appreciate it. We're hearing. Yes, we got that one clipped. But yeah, pretty sizable strike here again in Beirut just moments ago. I can switch this one over. So this is our secondary Beirut skyline here. So again, yeah, what was I looking for? Tanker. There's a tanker on the Kuwait border. Yeah, right here. Yep, he's skirting along the border there with Iraq. And we have this Airbus A330. Yeah, we'll be hanging out more on this flight radar here soon. For now, I want to give you guys some more updates. Really quickly, taking a break from our kind of time machine of past updates there, we're going to look at some of the new stuff that just came in. 3 minutes ago, Iranian air defenses briefly locked onto a U.S. Air Force F-15 before it deployed flares and escaped. Again, this is an Iranian air defenses, again, briefly locked on to that U.S. Air Force F-15. Let's take a look at this video here. Again, this is allegedly footage from an Iranian air defense system. Again, you can see that F-15 popped its flares there, and then it was able to evade. There has been, I know there's a lot of rumors going around, but there has been no, there's been no confirmed reports of any U.S. aircraft being downed at the hands of the Iranians. Again, we do have the 3 unfortunate friendly fire incidences that occurred with Kuwait. Kuwaitis, their aircraft, one of their aircraft accidentally downed 3 F-15s. All pilots survived, of course, and walked away unscathed. 4 minutes ago, the White House and again the IDF as well, both have been kind of posting some pretty interesting content the past few days. The White House just posted this. Again, this is 4 minutes ago. Let's take a look at this. This is one of quite a few kind of slightly comedic posts that have been put out by these entities over the past few days. Let's take a look at this one. Oh, hold on. Let's back it up there. Okay.
You want to see me do it again? 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 You want to see me do it again?
So whoever they got on the media team here, the press team, I don't know. The IDF 4 minutes ago released new combat footage showing Israeli airstrikes on Iranian forces, part of a broader campaign that hit about 200 military targets across western and central Iran earlier today. Let's take a look at this footage here. Tajantaro says, confirmed something is up with Amazon. Their page is not loading properly for me and had trouble signing in. So he's saying that right as, and I put this up in my video. Again, the Iranians have struck not one, but two major AWS data centers. That's Amazon Web Services, which, if for those that aren't in the know, Amazon Web Services it hosts the back. It's a partial backbone provider for a good portion of the internet. A lot of the internet, a lot of websites, a lot of services, a lot of apps, a lot of networks run off of Amazon Web Services and their data centers. When they hit those data centers in those Gulf nations, they knocked offline banking services, enterprise services, all sorts of different stuff that they knocked offline. Even if they're hitting a data center in one region, say it's, like for those people that are in the States or those people that are maybe in Canada or whatever, if you might think, okay, that doesn't matter. That doesn't pertain to me. That data center's over in the Middle East. Well, just when they hit one data center somewhere, at the scale that Amazon Web Services provides, again, service to almost a major majority of the internet here. In fact, I can get you an exact percentage. One second here. Roughly 30 to 34% of global cloud infrastructure runs on AWS. Okay, that is huge. All right. All of those data centers are interconnected, all right? When one goes down, it has the potential to disrupt the network globally, all right? There might be a service that, part of its service is hosted on that AWS infrastructure in the Middle East, and you wouldn't even know it. And you try to access, a platform that possibly has some of its data or some of its soft infrastructure, so to speak, is hosted on those data centers, and it could become interrupted. So, again, that's something to keep an eye out for. Again, it does mainly affect people in the Middle East, but has the potential to affect systems globally, depending on how those systems function, how interconnected those different systems are, etc. 5 minutes ago, here, U.S. Central Commander Admiral Brad Cooper greets U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth on his arrival to Sentcom headquarters at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida. You can see them there. Yeah, Sajano says in the chat, the rest of the servers have to handle a massive uptick in traffic. Yes, exactly. He also says even redundant systems struggle when an entire data center drops offline out of nowhere. Exactly, because most of that cloud infrastructure is interconnected, all right? So, like when you host, like, say, a service or a website or a network or something like that via that AWS system, it's often distributed across their data centers. So if one goes down, it can interrupt everything globally. 11 minutes ago, Israel detects a missile launch from Iran. Sirens will sound here shortly. Again, that was 11 minutes ago. Confrontation line. Trying to look here. I believe that was this group of alerts that came in here. Again, we're keeping an eye on these Beirut camps here. You can see, again, the smoke pluming off of that strike that occurred. Again, we have two angles coming in out of Beirut. Sounds like one is having some interruptions periodically of... Okay, we're getting another alert here. Actually, here's the alert. I believe this is the one that
Alarm. Gdera. Yavne. Rehovot.
we were just speaking
Modi'in,
about.
Maccabim Reut. Nest Ziona. Ramla. Be'er Yaakov. Rishon LeZion East. Lod. Rishon LeZion West. Shoham. Holon. Mikveh Yisrael. Or Yehuda. Yehud Monoson. Tel Aviv, Southern City and Jaffa. Tel Aviv East. Savion. Ramat Gan East. Elad. Kiryat Ono. Tel Aviv Center. Givatayim. Ramat Gan.
Okay, so we're
West.
hearing
Nebra. Givat.
we're hearing air raid sirens out of Tel Aviv here,
Tel Aviv, Yarkon Banks. Petah Tikva.
and our camera's going to be pointed at the ground, unfortunately, because that's how they are operating. However, we have this. Oh, they've switched over to Jerusalem now.
Rechidim. Fardapur. Herzliya Center and Gilead. Emmanuel. Ternei Shomron.
Jerusalem is not currently under air raid alert, though, unless the alerts come in here.
Beit Bar. Nir Eliyahu. Tzufim. Eyal. Chovat Gilad. Ashdod Northern Industrial Zone. Ashdod 11, 12, 15, 17. Marine City. Ashdod Chet Tet Yud Yud Gimel Yud Dalet Tetzan. Gan Yavne. Ashdod Gimel Vav Zayin. Ashdod Aleph Bet Dalet Hey. Gan Hadaron. Shitulim. Hatzor. Ma'alei Lebanon. Givat Haral and Givat Haral. Herzliya West. Kfar Shmariah.
Roddy Mom, good to see you. Teardrops, good to see you. DJ Blu-ray, good to see you, says, we continue to strongly recommend that customers with workloads running in the Middle East take action now to migrate those workloads to alternate AWS regions. Again, I believe that's a statement coming from AWS. Is that correct, DJ? But yes, yeah. So, yeah, again, we just heard air raid sirens sounding here in Tel Aviv. Unfortunate, again, the IDF has requested that news crews that are operating in Tel Aviv point their cameras to the ground during these air alerts. It's for multiple reasons. One reason is so that if blasts, if a missile gets through and strikes a target in Tel Aviv, the Iranians don't have that footage coming from these crystal clear AP feeds to use as propaganda. The second reason, which again was rumored, is that they're worried that Iran could potentially, if they miss, they can readjust fire possibly. Which again, I don't think is as much of a reality as again, they're using like those ballistic missiles and stuff like that. But again, I think it's more likely kind of like a propaganda thing, an anti-propaganda thing here. If one of those missiles happens to make it past the Iron Dome and strikes a building, Iran can get that footage from these feeds and they can show it all over the place, and saying, "Oh, we hit this" or whatever, and use it as again a kind of a propaganda piece. We are getting, again, more small arms fire coming out of Beirut here as well, I'm hearing on the feed. Again, our CGTN feed coming from CGTN Europe switched over to Jerusalem. We did have a separate feed coming out of Tel Aviv. Unfortunately, we no longer have that there. They switched to Jerusalem. Maybe they'll switch back here shortly. Again, I'll switch back over here. We were just going through some of these, actually right here, some of these latest alerts. Again, these are the alerts that just came in here. Actually, I believe the alerts that just came in here were separate. Yeah, it's these ones, 46 seconds ago. Yeah, these are the ones that just came through. Yeah, sirens warning of a suspected drone infiltration from Lebanon are sounding. That was the ones that we got a few minutes before that. Capital of Lebanon and its suburbs are under Israeli fire. We saw those strikes. We saw those strikes just a few moments ago. Again, this is footage coming live out of the southern suburbs of Beirut as folks try to evacuate that area there. Khaled says no footage of Iran's strike. No, again, it doesn't look like they have hit anything. Looks like all those interceptors caught those missiles. At least I'm not getting any initial reports here. 1 minute ago, huge explosion in Beirut. That was the one we saw live on stream, which we clipped. In fact, I can actually take that. Our other Beirut feed seems to be panning there. I can take that, and I'm going to get that up on our feed here. So we'll get that posted up on Twitch, or sorry, on X here. Justin, the Pentagon has formally designated Anthropic as a supply chain risk. Again, that comes after we had reports. Oh,
East.
and we're getting more here. More alerts coming in here now. But again, that post comes as we had reports over the past few days that Anthropic's Claude AI model has been confirmed to have been used by the military during these strikes. Oh, and more for Tel Aviv. More coming in for Tel Aviv. We can we'll most likely hear sirens sound here any moment.
Tel Aviv, Southern City and Jaffa. Tel Aviv East, Savyon, Ramat Gan East, Elad, Kiryat Ono. Tel Aviv Center.
Josh asks, do you believe we are getting the whole story regarding damage in Israel and American casualties? I don't trust the current administration to tell the truth. From all of the open source intelligence data that I've seen, all of the reports that I've seen coming out from people on the ground there, I believe it is accurate, yes. So again, we're hearing sirens sounding here across Tel Aviv again. Current time in Israel is 11:05 p.m. Just getting those feeds updated here in the bottom right. I believe we can hear those interceptors launching. So again, we just heard the sounds of those sirens sounding again in Tel Aviv twice in the past, 5-10 minutes, not even. And I believe we also heard sounds of those interceptors getting launched there in the background. And there's the sound of the interceptors working. Lead Farmers, he asks, are they sending more than 3 ballistic missiles at a time from Iran? Sometimes it's a few more than that, sometimes it's a few less than that. Sometimes it's just 1 at a time. Again, that's most likely due to their not lack of missiles, but their lack of... Well, I mean, they do... Again, their missile stockpiles are probably dwindling from U.S. and IDF strikes. However, I think it's more due to their lack of launchers, and I've spoke about that like a broken record over tonight's and previous reports that I've done. But again, people just going about their business here in Tel Aviv. Again, it looks like those interceptors did the job there. We could hear that kind of the report in the air there, the sound of the explosion of that interceptor taking out that incoming missile. And then again, that's the second time in about 10 minutes that we've heard these sirens sound. You know, it's interesting, and I've noticed this about Israel, is their air raid sirens don't last very long. They go off for, what, maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute, maybe a little less than that. And then, it goes right back to business as usual. In Ukraine, whenever there were airstrikes in Ukraine or any type of incoming in Ukraine, those air raid sirens would last for 5-10 minutes sometimes. Just goes to show how long Israel has been dealing with this stuff. Again, they only need that siren to go off for, like, 30 seconds, and then, those interceptors go to work, and then, again, it's business as usual for everybody on the ground here in Israel. Led says you could see a person watching TV through a window. Yeah, I see that there. Chappie says one just hit in Safad, Israel. I haven't got any reports about that yet, but again, I'll look here and I'll refresh the feed in a second. Kaltenberg, good to see you. Good to see you. All right, well, let's refresh our feed here, see if we got anything new. And X is giving me a hard time. 4 minutes ago, the IRGC Ashura Division Ground Forces headquarters was struck by IDF airstrikes today. You can see an image here on screen, again, of that Iranian ground forces headquarters lying in ruins. Here's that footage we caught a few moments ago of that strike in Beirut. Oh, and we're hearing... Play that back for anybody that missed it. And we're hearing... Oh, and we're see it. We're hearing... Oh, and we're hearing... Well, let me scroll up. Oh, and we're hearing... Oh, yep, right there, front and center. So that was a roof knock. We heard just... So yeah, right before we heard that roof knock there. And then a short while after. So that's a good indicator of when you're going to get a strike here. Watching these cameras, Israel, the IDF, they send out that roof knock, that initial kind of smaller munition, and then a short while after you see the main strike come in. 9 minutes ago, sirens warning of a suspected drone infiltration. Again, I already read that one. Again, we saw that come up on the map as well. 14 minutes ago, Israel and the U.S. support for Kurdish forces operating near Iran's northwest border, including alleged plans to open a corridor for cross-border action against Tehran, has raised concern about Turkey and Iraq, which worries such moves could destabilize the region there even further. Again, those Kurdish fighters have been continuously being armed by the CIA over recent months here. Since mid to late 2025, the CIA has been beefing up the Kurds there in preparation for this exact eventuality here. 19 minutes ago, Arab intelligence officials cautioned that Iranian operatives inside Jordan may launch attacks on Israel in an effort to ignite a new front. Let me adjust these volumes here, guys. Sorry, I forgot to turn them back down after our. I forgot to turn them back down after our air raid that we just had there in Tel Aviv. Let me just make sure these are all up to date and everything's looking good. Again, people still getting out there. You can see people are literally just camping along the sidewalks here, burning fires to cook on. I mean, you can see campfires everywhere here. Again, people are just, being displaced. A lot of these people don't have anywhere to evacuate to. So a lot of people are just kind of coming and camping out, away from where, some of those targets might be that the IDF is looking to strike. They're kind of just congregating along these roadways here, camping out and waiting this thing out. And then a lot of people are just trying to get the hell out of Dodge, so to speak, and get to safety. "22 minutes ago, Iraqi police report that a U.S. fighter jet has crashed in Basra province. Again, we are waiting for more reports on this to come out. Take everything that you see like this with a grain of salt. But again, we'll wait and see. Again, initial reports are now coming out that a fighter jet was shot down over Iraq. Police in Basra province, Iraq, have told Rida English that a U.S. aircraft was downed, and security forces are conducting a search for the pilot at this time. You can see where that is geolocated on the map here. Showed you that post earlier. That was that White House post. Some more images there. The Islamic regime is unleashing some of its arsenal on Dubai right now. That was about 38 minutes ago. Take a look at this video. Looks like they hit some kind of electrical substation or power there. You can see that arc. That's an arc flash. That's a pretty sizable arc flash you're seeing there. Possibly hit like a substation or something like that, an electrical substation, because that's we saw that during the Ukraine invasion. We saw that a lot when the Russians started targeting Ukrainian power infrastructure. You would see those arc flashes. They'd light up the whole night sky with that blue glow, blue-green glow that you see right there. You see that? Yeah, that's indicative of, again, electrical arc flash. Again, they're most likely have hit some kind of electrical substation or power pole, transformer, something was hit there that caused that blue distinct flash. And you can kind of hear the electrical sound in the video. Speaking of which sound, we can hear, again, another sound of a strike here in Beirut. Yeah, as Sean D. Richmond says, that's the sound angry electrons make. I'm going to refresh our feed real quick because we just got a couple new images here coming in. This is 3 minutes ago. Again, we got a couple clips of this. An Iranian MRBM attack on central Israel moments ago using a large cluster munition warhead. Again, and I stress this, guys, we've seen a couple clips like this. Sometimes when those ballistic missiles break up after interception, you get all these glowing, flaming pieces falling down to earth. Take these reports of it being a cluster munition with a grain of salt until we get concrete proof of that. Keep in mind, these posts are coming from other open source intelligence gathering feeds, again, like OSINT Technical, etc. We aggregate from a lot of those feeds for this X feed here. And again, sometimes, the fact-checking isn't done right away as these reports come in so rapidly. But again, I like to stress, because we've seen a few of these clips like this, and we don't know for sure if these are cluster munitions being used. Again, I've seen clips of interceptions that occur, and you see these pieces from these ballistic missiles falling down to earth that are on fire. Again, most cluster munitions, from what I've seen, they don't have they don't have like propulsion on each little sub munition, right? Usually you have a main propulsion system, a main rocket, so to speak, that then deploys those cluster munitions, and they just fall via terminal velocity down to target. Again, this looks more like something was intercepted, and then it's just simply falling down to Earth. But again, we could take a look at the video footage here for you guys, and you can see for yourself what I'm talking about there. Again, those individual sub-munitions don't usually all glow, like as if they were rockets, individual tiny rockets. Again, this is more indicative, and especially you see that piece there that burnt up. Again, that looks like more like a missile body got struck, and then there's a bunch of tiny pieces falling down to Earth. Again, we could be wrong on this, but again, until we get concrete confirmation that this is cluster munitions being used, take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, as Anthony says in the chat, you can't see clusters at night once they're deployed. Again, because, as I said before, those cluster munitions, each submunition is just kind of like it's like a bomblet, all right? So you have a ballistic missile. That ballistic missile launches. It's one big rocket. It takes it up and over a target, and then it disperses those bomblets, and they just fall to the ground, all right? They don't have, like, rocket engines on each one of those little submunitions. So again, this is more indicative of interception. Spicy footage from Bashir Air Base this week. We could take a look at this real quick. This just came through. We're getting some pan tilt zoom action on our Beirut cam there as well. Let me make sure these are, yep, they're live. Again, guys, with these feeds that I'm bringing into you, sometimes when I'm off the tab, or even sometimes when it's still in focus, yeah, we're hearing some small arms fire coming in there. We seem to have a plane of some sort, I think, coming into Beirut Airport, which is over here. But again, sometimes when I have these feeds up, they get behind by a couple minutes, like this one here. Yeah, so see, there's that aircraft coming in now, and you can see it on the other clip, the other feed coming in there. Yeah, sometimes I have to update these because they get like a couple seconds or a couple minutes behind. But again, I try to do my best to catch that as quickly as possible. I believe what we're seeing there is an airplane coming in to Beirut International Airport, and if we switch over to flight radar real quick, like I could show you, we could probably see it. Yep, right there. That's that aircraft right there coming into land at the airport. We'll switch back over to the feed, and you'll be able to see that plane land. Again, these feeds are like maybe a 30, 60-second delay from the time that the footage is recorded here in Lebanon to it getting to our screens here. So keep that in mind. So again, when you look at the flight radar, that's a little bit more instantaneous. You can already see he's coming down on the runway there. I'd say maybe more like a 20 or 30-second delay. But yeah, you can see him. He's landing there at Beirut International. Let's take a look at what that flight is, actually. That's MEA 230 Paris to Beirut. Again, an incoming flight there. These flights have been evacuating people. So I was reading a report about this earlier today. These flights with the call sign MEA have all been evacuating people. So they'll take off. They'll fly to Paris or wherever. They'll drop people off, and then they come right back. They're usually coming back empty. They're usually coming back with nobody on board. They fill up the plane, and they get the hell out of there. And again, they've been doing that over the past few days here. All right, so we'll go back to our feed here. I know I was showing you some of these. I was showing you some of these images. Hold on one second. Again, this is spicy footage. Extra spicy footage from Bashir Air Base this week. Let's take a look.
Boy!
That will definitely ring your bell, being that close to that explosion. I mean, he's still at a kind of a decent distance here, but even at that distance, your bell is going to be rung being that close to that explosion. That shockwave is definitely not gonna feel good. Hold on, we're getting some cam zoom action here, some pan tilt, some pan. Oh, yeah, and it looks like we had another strike here in Beirut. Yep, right here. Another strike just now, guys, in Beirut. Wes Lester says in a live chat just now, U.S. official denies reports that an American fighter jet was shot down over Basra province in southern Iraq, telling Al Jazeera the claims are false. I believe I actually just had that same statement come through. Let's see if I can find it here. Suicide Jockey said some flying debris as well. Yep, kicked up some stuff there. So yeah, another pretty sizable strike here. I believe I heard the roof knock for this strike a few moments ago while I was running through some of the other footage, but I wasn't sure. I'm pretty sure I had heard a roof knock though. Sean D. Richmond says your tinnitus has been determined not to be service connected. Yep, that's the story of the century right there. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on this strike here. Keep an eye on this feed. Yeah, Suicide Jockey said Sentcom denied it as well. Yeah, I think I'm getting that post in right now. Yeah, I'm seeing that as well. Switching back over to our feed real quick. Again, this was that explosion. We'll take a look at that. Okay, this is... Hold on, something to note here, guys. You can see the shockwave. Watch these bushes. Hold on, let me see if I can get this. Actually, yeah, you can see from this bush here. And watch these in this bush here. Watch the shockwave as it rolls in.
Oh, bacho, boy!
Just realized my microphone was off there, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies. Again, Kathy asks what a roof knock is. Again, it's just kind of a yeah. We're hearing some warning, or sorry, some small arms fire out of Beirut here. But yeah, Kathy asked about roof knocks. Great question. Again, a roof knock is kind of like a warning shot. They basically drop like a small explosive, like a small bomblet, so to speak. They hit the roof with it. It's meant to alert civilians and other non-combatants that are in the area, basically to leave because that a bigger strike is coming that's going to basically demolish the entire building. I don't know if other militaries do that. I imagine it is in doctrine and that other militaries do utilize that, but I feel like the Israelis have like pioneered the roof knock. Like they're like the king of the roof knock. They used it almost in every strike that they conducted over the past like 10 years, of war in Gaza and Lebanon and everywhere else that they've been operating in. They're big fans of the roof knock. Again, moving back over here. Again, you can see the shockwave in the bushes there. I'll play that one more time for you guys, and then we'll move on. Keep an eye on the bushes down here in the bottom of the screen.
Oh, bacho, bacho, bacho. Boy!
Again, if that shockwave is violent enough to shake these bushes behind a brick wall, kick up dust all around him, and throw debris, his bell is rung. He's definitely going to be feeling that.
Bacho, bacho. Boy! Oh, bacho.
That is a massive, massive strike that occurred there. Again, we were showing this footage of the, again, that missile that was intercepted there. Again, and you know, another thing to keep in mind here, if these were cluster munitions, we would see more reports of these cluster munitions landing, because an interceptor is not going to be able to take out all the different bomblets, right? And, you know, if these hit the ground in Israel, we would be seeing reports from both civilian and most likely the IDF themselves. They, like, the IDF, they're not going to cover this up, you know, that Iran's using cluster munitions. They're going to make that very public, all right? Because, again, that does not make the Iranians look good using cluster munitions, right? So, again, that also leads into my assessment that this is most likely, again, a ballistic missile that has been intercepted and is broken up into, like, lots of flaming debris. As I mentioned earlier, in cluster munitions, the bomblets don't have rockets. They're not like rocket contrails. You know, you're not going to see them all glowing like this. You're not going to see them at all. You know what I mean? That ballistic missile is going to, you know, get over its target. It's going to disperse the little bomblets, and they're just going to fall to the ground again with terminal velocity, and hit their target. Some more footage of that same thing here. Yeah, you can really tell, like, this is stuff that's burning up after an interception. And this goes to show, I mean, again, besides the point of cluster munitions, this goes to show just how dangerous it is with those missile interceptions. You still have flaming metal debris raining down over a large area whenever one of those ballistic missiles gets intercepted, which can cause damage to property and has been known to injure people and kill people. Again, it's still a big deal. Major airstrikes against Hezbollah have begun in Beirut. Here's a image via kind of a nighttime camera here showing one of those strikes. That's probably one of the strikes that we just saw on our Beirut feeds here that are coming in. Again, pretty sizable explosion we just saw there. We're still hearing small arms fire out of Beirut at this hour as well. This has been like a repeating theme the past few days on my reports. We're just watching these Beirut feeds constantly. Again, big shout out to the camera crews that are operating these cameras. Again, some of these strikes, I know in one of our last streams, one of these strikes was pretty close to where they were filming from. So, again, big shout outs to those guys risking their lives to bring that footage to the world. Yeah, we saw this image earlier. Let me see here. Let me see here for you guys. Showing that footage already. We showed that footage. This is more footage, I believe, of that same strike in Bashir, but just from a different angle. Yeah, Anthony, I believe that was the same cloud that we saw. Same explosion. Another footage here. I'm pretty sure this is also from Bashir, possibly the same area. Alright, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that is probably a 1,000-pounder. So at this distance here, guys, okay, with an explosion that massive, where this guy is sitting on this rooftop, there's a very real possibility of incoming debris and shrapnel from even this distance during an explosion like that. Very risky to be sitting up on a rooftop exposed, even at this distance from this explosion. Again, you could be getting hit with concrete and all sorts of stuff that's flying out from this massive blast. And that's a huge explosion. Again, we talked about the U.S. ramping up these strikes here, and that they were going to start using, you know, those 1,000-pound bombs, those 2,000-pound bombs here in the coming days. I believe this is an example of what we're seeing here. Because again, that is a massive strike. I mean, you can see for scale the size of that. That's an entire apartment building with, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, maybe like 16, 18 floor building, maybe more. Again, it's kind of hard to tell. There's a little grainy footage there, but I mean, that is a massive explosion. Guyman asks, do we have footage of the actual blast? Do you mean from this, or do you mean from the Beirut feed? Because yes, we have both. This blast here, I'm pretty sure, is also the same blast we see in this video here, and the other one that I showed you. Going out on a limb. Just had some other updates here. Impacts reported in central Israel 7 minutes ago. Again, video footage coming in. This is fresh coming in from OSINT technical. Impacts reported in central Israel. That footage here, this one, I believe that's the same strike.
Boy!
Perhaps. Could be wrong enough. Again, that's massive. In fact, right at the end of that video, you can hear like just everything raining down. That's all the debris raining down around them. Yeah, this is the same strike here. I mean, that is huge. Yeah, speaking more to that footage there from Central Israel's, again, I agree it's probably a downed rocket. However, it's hard to tell, and this is, again, just coming into us, so... The IRGC, this is reports in Iran. The IRGC Public Relations says the 20th wave of Operation Promise Truth 4 began a combined missile and drone operation along with a barrage of caliber-breaking missiles against targets in the heart of Tel Aviv on the evening of the birth of Imam Hassan. And again, reiterating on those fighter jet reports earlier, a U.S. official has denied reports that an American fighter jet was shot down over Basra province, southern Iraq, telling Al Jazeera that claim is false. Again, early reports are now indicating Iranian strikes at the U.S. Camp Victory Base in Baghdad as continuous explosions were reportedly heard. Again, we had a couple reports come in about that a short while ago. We were waiting on more information on that. A second to scroll here. Scrolling. Oh. And another strike just ran out here. Yep. Another strike just occurred here in Beirut, Lebanon. Both of our feeds are up to date and current. I don't see that strike on camera unless it's this one here. You can hear that fighter jet, though. Oh, and another one. I just saw the flash on the secondary camera there. Yeah, I believe that's this cloud here that's rising. Is the first strike. So that was 2 simultaneously. Our other Beirut feed is, and it's a little dark, hard to see, but which I kind of like that this one's a little darker because it's easier to see the flashes. The flashes light up with the exposure. Sorry, the exposure turned down here. Again, it's a little easier to see the flashes. Again, that's that strike. That's that first one that just came through there, I believe. Again, we just heard 2 simultaneously. Wait, what the? Oh, there we go. Okay. So I think our feed just rewound a little bit. Yeah, our feed from it says live, but I think it just rewound just if like 30 seconds or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. But again, we got to see the strike occur again. Oh, and then the second blast, same spot. Right there, see? So that's how long it takes sound to travel. So they're telescopically zoomed in on this camera. So it takes a little bit for that sound to travel from the site of the detonation to the camera. In fact, we could actually calculate how far away this camera is from that detonation. If we did a little bit of math. If somebody wants to go back and count how many seconds it took from again, the light hitting the camera to us hearing that explosion, we can kind of get a good gauge of just how far away. Again, they are using some pretty beefy telescopic lenses to reach out that far. But again, we just kind of saw an instant replay there that, again, AP's feed kind of rewound. Had me wonder what was going on there for a second. Sky clipped it. Good work. Good work. Says if you want just the explosion. Well, let me look here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I think our feed... Good work on that clip. I wish we had the audio of the shockwave hitting the camera, because then we could calculate how far away this camera is from that blast. Oh, there we go. I'll show you guys real quick. Sorry, you keep hearing my voice probably from the from this. Okay, here's a replay of that clipped by Skies just a few seconds ago on. Oh, there we go. On Twitch. There we go. Okay, so I think our feed. Play that one more time for you guys. Looks like a couple munitions. Yep, yeah, probably 3, 4, 5 munitions there. So I think our feed. Let me get back. Okay, here we go. Getting some buffering issues actually off this feed here. The Becca says, ugh, math. Yeah, sometimes we got to do the math. Yeah, we're getting some buffering issues with this live feed now. We'll stay with it, though. Yeah, I've had, I mean, I've been pretty close to some pretty large explosions. Again, like doing training with like C4. You know, like just a little block of C4 will ring your bell. You know, even behind like a cement barrier or inside a bunker, you can feel that, you know. You can feel it in your head, you can feel it in your chest, you know, it'll, you know, kind of even give you a headache. But blasts on this scale, or blasts on the scale of the one that I showed you in this video, I mean, I couldn't even imagine. Again, like, how much that'd shake you up, just being that close. Again, so for those just tuning in, we just witnessed a pretty massive strike here by the IDF in Beirut. We already got people in the chat doing the math. Yeah, this buffering is going to get a little annoying. Oh, looks like it might have just updated. Yeah, it looks like they acknowledged they were having some connection difficulties there on that feed. Yeah, I mean, I'd suspect they're at least a couple miles out from where this is. Again, they're using that pretty, as I said, pretty beefy telescopic lens to reach over there. In fact, you can see on this camera is coming from, I believe, one of the same rooftops nearby. And, I mean, that's the cloud way out there. You know, and this camera's, again, zoomed in pretty far. Genetics says about 4.6 for a mile. That's not, I think that's pretty accurate. Yeah, about 4.7 to 5 seconds per mile. So I think it's safe to say that they're maybe a mile or less away, because I believe it was like a 3 to 4 second delay between seeing the explosion and hearing the sound. We'd have to go back and look at the footage. But if somebody ran it on a stopwatch and we got the exact time from light reaching camera to sound hitting microphone, we could calculate the exact distance from camera to blast. All right, we're gonna keep an eye on this though, but for now, hold on. I'm gonna switch to this one and refresh it because it got behind a little bit, and then I got this one up, and then we'll go back here, refresh our feed real quick because I believe we got a few new things in. Yeah, okay, so this is coming from Sentcom. Rumors are circulating on social media of a U.S. fighter jet shot down over Basra. These are baseless, not true. Again, coming directly from U.S. Central Command. Something to keep in mind about Sentcom, right? When they give these press releases like this, if a fighter jet had been shot down, they're just not going to say anything until they investigate it and until, you know, they confirm. Like, they're not gonna release that to the public. But if there's a lie that is being pushed out by the Iranians, they will immediately debunk it. Okay, keep that in mind about government entities like Sentcom. You know, if something had been shot down, you're just not going to hear anything. At least until an investigation is done and they know what's going on. "9 minutes ago, Trump made a statement. Iran is ruined for 10 years before it can rebuild itself," he says. 9 minutes ago, the Arabian foreign ministers to hold a emergency meeting on Sunday. That comes from the Wall Street Journal there. Prayers for Donald Trump at the Oval Office earlier. Kind of an interesting scene there. Early reports now indicating an Iranian strikes at the U.S. Camp Victory base in Baghdad. Again, I told you about that earlier. Scroll back here a little more. I got to do some scrolling. We do a little scrolling around here. All right. Yeah, there's that. IRGC, a statement they made earlier. We do not want to kill your children, but if they show sympathy for the enemy, there is a shoot-to-kill order. 1 hour ago. Okay, so this is actually where we started going through our older posts. And, okay, we're back. 1 minute ago, President Trump says Iran's anti-aircraft defenses have effectively been wiped out. Again, they've repeated these claims quite a few times. 1 minute ago, this is Isfahan, Iran, right now. I know some people had messaged me a short while ago asking like what the global threat assessment was right now from rPanel. We are currently, I'll refresh it really quick. We're currently sitting at a 72.3 on the threat index. Again, with 49 active conflicts globally. About 2,320 cyber attacks have been detected across the globe in the past 24 hours. That does include DDoS. DDoS, as well as like zero-day exploits, all sorts of. That's basically like an all-encompassing figure there. Our economic volatility is through the roof. To put this in perspective, prior to this kicking off, we were sitting at around a cool 16, maybe 17 on a bad day. And since this kicked off, we have kicked up dramatically. Yeah, the chart's not really showing it accurately on here. We gotta do some work on these, on the charts for these. Same for like the cyber chart, kind of does not accurately reflect the numbers. But the economic volatility typically is sitting around like 16 to 17, and lately, again, over the past few days, it's skyrocketed up to 23.8. For the threat index, again, typically was sitting around like 50 or 60, and now we're running at about 72.7. I feel like I'm hearing that fighter jet. Oh, we got a fire burning. We got a fire burning right there. Sleepy, good to see ya. Says, hello, Nemico. Hope everything is fine. Stocks in Bitcoin is going rough lately. Indeed, and you could say that for a lot of the markets. So we're going to keep an eye on this feed, and I'm going to get the small feedback up, and we'll switch back over to here, and we're going to keep going through some of the older posts here. Give me 1 second. Sleepy asks, what's your thoughts on Iran attacking so many different targets and countries? If you want my full thoughts on that, Sleepy, I highly recommend you go and watch the video I just uploaded today. It's over on my YouTube channel. I go into depth. It's like kind of an overall update. But I titled the video, How the Iran War is Bigger Than You Think. And again, I go into great detail on just like the extent of how many countries have been drawn into this conflict. Again, my thoughts is they've just gone balls to the wall, so to speak, and they're just hitting everything they can right now to disrupt kind of global economics, to disrupt military operations in the region, and just again, it's kind of like a scorched earth policy here that they've taken. Four hours ago, since the start of the war, 25,000 of the 44,000 scheduled flights in the Middle East have been canceled. Dubai International Airport has recorded the highest number of cancellations. Again, to put that into perspective for you guys here, if I go back over to our flight radar, let me see here, zoom out. So, Dubai International is one of the, if not the most busy airport on the planet. And as you can see right now, it is almost completely shut down. They've gone from, I think it's about 2,000, like 1,000 to 2,000 flights per day is what they normally run at, to they're sitting right now about 12 flights per day that they're taking in and out of Abu Dhabi. Dubai here, International Airport. Again, usually about 1 to 2,000 flights per day. And they're now sitting at about 12-ish, maybe 12 to 15 flights a day, give or take. One of the most busiest airports in the world. And if you want to look at the overall displacement here of aircraft in the region, all you got to do is zoom out, all right? Usually this whole area is filled with aircraft. And again, you can see everything is being rerouted all the way around the entire region. And where have we seen this before? Look right up here on the map. Ukraine. So prior to the Ukraine war, there was aircraft going all over through here. I mean, prior to the Ukraine war, this region looked like this region, all right? And now you can see everything is having to divert all over the place. And you notice that down here as well. It's an even bigger kind of dead zone here for aircraft. Also, just now I noticed we had a flight. Oh, here it is. Yeah, Casablanca to Dubai. Obviously, this transponder's glitched. I don't think it's actually out here over this near the strait here. I think this transponder is actually glitched out at the moment. Anthony says that video was great, man. I just watched it. Good on you. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. And we have our KC-135 Stratotanker here operating over the Persian Gulf currently, doing its thing. Let me check in on Cyprus. Yep, so our drone is still operating, has moved out over here, and has taken up a holding pattern here. Again, this is like a defensive position here. Again, they're trying to intercept those drones coming in from Lebanon and Iran. Very interesting now that they have this up in the air, because again, over the previous days they had some RAF fighter jets in the air being backed up by another airborne refueler aircraft, so that they could loiter. They could loiter over here off of the coast of Cyprus, and no doubt they were probably operating over Syrian airspace as well, and maybe even Lebanese airspace, trying to intercept drones and strikes that are coming from Iran. But now they have this drone here loitering, and I'm pretty sure its main function, given that it is an armed drone, again, is to intercept. Their biggest worry is not missiles in Cyprus. They're mostly worried about one-way attack drones like those Shaheeds and other drones that Hezbollah is launching from Lebanon into Cyprus here. So it's kind of interesting that they have this here. I also imagine that the RAF is probably running an early warning aircraft somewhere in the region, or they're working with their partners like the U.S. That are running early warning aircraft in this region to detect launches of drones and missiles, and then they can use assets like this drone or assets like those fighter aircraft that I was talking about earlier to intercept those missiles. Still flights coming in and out of Cyprus. Again, it's slowing down the amount of civilian flights coming in and out of Cyprus, but there are still a few planes coming in and out of there. Coming down here, we have another Stratotanker here, which looks to have taken off from Tel Aviv, held a holding pattern here above Jordan, shot off into theater, probably operated for a while, and is now returning most likely to Tel Aviv. You're going to see that come in here. It's probably going to circle around and then line up for a landing here at Ben Gurion International. We have Paris to Tel Aviv here. This is interesting. A Hawker 800 XP business jet is, I believe, yeah, coming in to land at Tel Aviv. However, its transponder is also clearly messed up here. Again, we've seen that quite a bit. Another airborne refueler. Both of these are taking off from Tel Aviv currently. Watch. So you're going to see these turn, and then they're going to either head down into like Saudi Arabia area, or they are going to turn across, go across the Jordan, and go into the area of operations here. Go off radar. They'll turn their transponders off. They'll operate out here and loiter. Again, supporting the other fighter aircraft that are operating in the region, both for the Israeli Air Force and the United States Air Force. Again, they go out there, they loiter. Fighters come in, they refuel. The fighters loiter until they get, orders to go and strike a target. They go in, strike the target, and they come back, maybe refuel, maybe loiter a little bit more, maybe go and strike another target, and then, after the job's done, they go and land. The refuelers mostly come either back in here to Tel Aviv, or they go to other air bases throughout the region down here, and then restock, refit, refuel, get back up in the air. The fighter aircraft, either they do the same, either land at one of these air bases, or they head out to the Mediterranean to land on a carrier there, or they head down here, again, somewhere by the Gulf of Oman or the Arabian Sea, and land on a carrier there. That's kind of been the pattern, again, that we've seen over the past few days. This is interesting here, actually. This is the first time that I've seen, over the past few days, this is the first time I've actually seen one of these KC-135Rs actually go transponders on over Iraqi airspace. So that's an interesting little tidbit there. Sleepy says, I feel like Article 5 should be activated after NATO intercepted the Turkey attack. Again, I talked about that a little bit in my video that I put out today, but again, if we see more strikes like that in Turkey, even interceptions, again, I think in Article 5 will be conversation, not just hypotheticals, and that's the exact wording I used in that video earlier today. No, speaking of which, NATO 29 is also up in the air again. It was off radar for a little bit earlier, but I see it's up loitering again. This is another early warning aircraft here. There's others that are operating in the region that do not have transponders on. Again, they detect those launches of UAVs, those launches of ballistic missiles, etc. And then aircraft like this drone here or other fighter aircraft that are in the region, they go to work to intercept those UAVs, or you get the those interceptors that go to work to start intercepting some of those missiles. Breezy says, you would think the tankers would be easy targets as they are getting close to Iran. Shows how weak they are, I guess. Yeah, so one thing to keep in mind, and in some way this is kind of a flex by the U.S., they're so confident now that they have taken out the majority of Iran's air defense systems, most of their surface-to-air missile launch systems, and arguably most of their aircraft as well, to the point where, I mean, they're operating, again, right up against the Iranian border here. And, I mean, he has his transponder on. They're not hiding. I mean, they're clearly right there over Iraqi airspace. And I've been talking about this over the past few days, and, again, this kind of backs up my assessment, is that they're going in and mostly loitering around Iraqi airspace, the refuelers at least. The fighters loiter with them, they refuel, and then they get orders to go in and they attack. They strike certain targets within Iran, and then they again, head back out of Iranian airspace. They're also attacking certain targets within Iraq as well, attacking certain pro-Iranian cells that are in this area. We've heard some sporadic reports of that, and then the big one here, the big kind of key takeaway here, is that you have this kind of west to east front of U.S. and Israeli forces working together to strike targets in western Iran. That's most likely what this Stratotanker is supporting, is the strikes happening from here all the way down to here, right? And then you have the carrier groups, the carrier group that is in the Arabian Sea. And again, they're sending out sorties that are attacking central and southern Iran, so kind of like this area here. In fact, Sentcom, not Sentcom, sorry, but Dan Kane again, in that press release yesterday morning, I believe it was, again, he was showing that map. And I'm actually hearing a jet coming in over Beirut. Is that Beirut? That is not Beirut. Where is that? Is that Jerusalem? We're hearing jets over Jerusalem. Not sure if that's what we're seeing there. I'll head to the flight radar here. These are too far away to be what we're hearing. Yeah, so these guys are heading out. These guys are heading out. These guys are heading back in. Mobile 3-5 and the one with no call sign here, they're heading back into land. These two are heading back out. It's kind of a shift change going on here. Anyway, as I was mentioning before, in that press briefing that they did the other morning, they went into great detail on that, which, you know, kind of backed up my original assessment. Again, that's how they're operating here. Most of, like, the indicators that made me come to that assessment was just kind of gut feeling of, like, you know, if I was Sentcom, how would I be doing this? You know what I mean? Again, having those assets out here in the Mediterranean, having those assets down here in the Arabian Sea, plus having Israel helping out, how would we split up kind of, you know, the strikes here, and, you know, kind of split up the targets and how we kind of tackle those? Again, having the U.S. down here in the Arabian Sea, and, you know, throughout the Gulf region, attacking kind of southern and, you know, central Iran, and then having Israel and the assets that we have in the Mediterranean kind of handling everything that's over here in the west, including Tehran as well. Those carrier groups sending Tomahawks in their initial days across Syria, across Iraq. We saw footage of those Tomahawks sailing, you know, low and fast across the skies of Iraq and hitting targets in Tehran. And then we've seen these refuelers kind of, you know, again, going into loiter. Of course, their transponders were off most of the time, but you could see them going into loiter in the region. You know, like, where would be the most likely place that they would be doing that? How would they be operating, etc.? So it's like a combination of open source intelligence indicators, you know, that we were seeing here with stuff like this, and kind of like a gut feeling, like, you know, putting yourself in the boots of Sentcom here. How would you do it if you were Sentcom? And then seeing that press release there by the White House and by Dan Kane the other morning, by General Dan Kane, again, when he kind of showed the map and started, you know, kind of plotting out how they've been handling this, I was like, exactly. You know, I mean, like, you know, we had called that, you know, that's exactly how they were doing it. But again, and you could see here, again, this Stratotanker, again, just kind of loitering over Iraq, supporting those fighter aircraft that are operating in this airspace here. Sean D. Richmond says, nobody in NATO is talking about Article 5 as of this morning when the Secretary General of NATO was interviewed. Yeah, so I watched a lot of those interviews there, and yeah, it's interesting how little that was brought up. But again, a lot of other analysts are, you know, they're all kind of just screaming the same thing right now. Like, if we see continued escalation here in Turkey, possible Article 5, what that would mean, possible involvement from other NATO countries, you know, coordinating strikes, or maybe some kind of defensive, in some kind of defensive capacity here. Again, it remains to be seen, but that's a very dicey situation. When you start getting other NATO countries getting attacked by Iran, again, an attack on one is an attack on all. That is the foundation of Article 5. Is it likely to happen? I mean, I don't think Iran wants that. They've already bit off more than they can chew with everything that's going on down in the Gulf here, so I don't think that's in the cards for Iran. But again, if that continues to escalate there, it would be a matter of conversation, and again, not a matter of you know, speculation, so to speak. All right, refreshing our feed here. We're going to take a look at anything new that came in. I'm not sure what these statements are.
And I'm once again calling on all members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard.
All right, here's some statements from President Trump just a short while ago. Let's take a listen to this.
In Iran, which really set the stage for what we're doing right now. It's been pretty amazing. And I'm once again calling on all members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the military and the police, to lay down their arms. They're only going to be killed. And now is the time to stand up for the Iranian people and help take back your country. You're going to have a chance after all these years to take back your country. Accept immunity. We'll give you immunity. And we'll be giving you really the right side of history, because that's what it is. So you'll be perfectly safe with total immunity, or you'll face absolutely guaranteed death. And I don't want to see that. They don't want to see it either. We also urge Iranian diplomats around the world to request asylum and to help us shape a new and better Iran with great potential. It's a country with great potential. It's a much better future for Iran. It's now beginning. It's going to be, I think, a great future. And the United States will ensure that whoever leads the country next, Iran will not threaten America or its neighbors, Israel, anybody. If you look at what happened, they had missiles aimed at all of these other countries, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, many others, that weren't really involved very much, and they had missiles aimed. Well, they were aimed there long before this ever started. They were going after the entire Middle East. And then we came along. We blew up their party.
So there was those statements there from President Trump. I believe he might have.
Together with the wonderful.
I believe this is a separate statement here. Let's listen to this.
Together with the wonderful Israeli partners, continues to totally demolish the enemy far ahead of schedule, and at levels that people have never seen before, actually. We're destroying more of Iran's missiles and drone capability every single hour, knocking them out like nobody thought was possible. As soon as they set off a missile, within 4 minutes, the launcher gets hit. They don't know what's happening. But we have the greatest military anywhere in the world. Their Navy is gone. 24 ships in 3 days. That's a lot of ships. Their anti-aircraft weapons are gone. So they have no air force. They have no air defense. All of their airplanes are gone. Their communications are gone. Missiles are gone. Launches are gone. About 60% and 64% respectively. Other than that, they're doing quite well. I said, what's left? But they're tough, and they want to fight. And they're calling. They're saying, how do we make a deal? I said, you're being a little bit late.
XX just Mark says Pete Hegseth holds a press conference right now. Let me see if I can pull that up for us here, ladies and gentlemen. Give me one moment here. I'll keep playing this while I find that.
And we want to fight now more than they do. We've had
of what it currently is right now.
All right, actually,
our capabilities.
We're going to pull that up
and
right now.
Those of the Israeli Defense Forces.
Here's this live press conference coming in from Pete Hegseth. Let's listen in.
The Admiral knows we have clear objectives with maximum authorities on the battlefield. The dumb, politically correct wars of the past were the opposite of what we're doing here. They had vague objectives with restrictive, minimalist rules of engagement. No more. Our authorities, his authorities, Sentcom's authorities through the president and myself are maxed out. Our capabilities are overwhelming and gathering still, as are those of our Israeli partners. Our munitions are full up, and our will is ironclad, which means our timeline is ours and ours alone to control. As long as it takes to ensure the United States of America achieves these objectives. And as we flow more forces, and as we flow more capabilities, and as our munitions, as we're flying over the top, have even more devastating effects, we set the tempo, we set the timeline, led by the commander on the ground. Our ear is to the ground to listen to Admiral Cooper, what he needs, and what he needs he will get. We are built for this fight, and we are in it to win it. And we have the right commander in the lead. So I'll now hand it over to Admiral Brad Cooper to give you an update right here from Sentcom. Admiral.
Mr. Secretary, first, thank you very much and good afternoon, and welcome to U.S. Central Command Headquarters, America's Warfighting Headquarters. It's great to be here alongside the Secretary and representing the more than 50,000 men and women in uniform currently executing Operation Epic Fury. So, Mr. Secretary, first, thank you very much for your leadership and support and the very clear vision and objectives that you've given us to allow us to use overwhelming force against the Iranian terrorist regime. And thanks to all of you for attending today, and welcome to Tampa. We are now starting our 6th day of a historic mission to eliminate Iran's ability to threaten Americans. We are, if I could channel my inner Navy officer, we are at full speed ahead in executing orders given by leadership in Washington. The President and Secretary Hegseth have been crystal clear in their expectations, and we are at a high level of execution. As described by the Secretary and earlier this week by me, U.S. combat power is building as Iranian combat power declines. Our air dominance allows us to hit Iran's center of gravity with overwhelming power and reach. A couple of examples. In just the last 72 hours, America's bomber force has struck nearly 200 targets deep inside of Iran, including around Tehran. And in just the last hour, U.S. B-2 bombers dropped dozens of 2,000-pound penetrator bombs targeting deeply buried ballistic missile launchers.
See, I was talking about those
Notably,
earlier.
we've also struck Iran's equivalent of Space Command, which degrades their ability to threaten Americans. Then, if I just look back over the last 24 hours of the operation compared to where we were at its start, ballistic missile attacks have decreased by 90% since day one. Drone attacks have decreased by 83% since day one. Having said this, we remain vigilant. Our strikes against the Iranian Navy have intensified. You may have heard the President say.
Okay, so that's an interesting statement there. They're saying that UAV strikes have also decreased. So we did see some data, like I believe came from the IDF, that had showed those UAVs on an uptick. But again, from these statements coming from Sentcom here, the amount of UAV strikes have gone down as well. So that is interesting. Again, that's newer information.
Just a little while ago that we have sunk or destroyed 24 ships. That was true at the moment. We're now up over 30 ships. And in just the last few hours, we hit an Iranian drone carrier ship, roughly the size of a World War II aircraft carrier, and as we speak, it's on fire. The President gave us another task, to raise or level Iran's ballistic missile industrial base. So we're not just hitting what they have, we're destroying their ability to rebuild. And so as we transition to the next phase of this operation, we will systemically dismantle Iran's missile production capability for the future, and that's absolutely in progress. This is going to take some time, but our forces are well supplied, as the Secretary said, and we are absolutely ready to prosecute this mission decisively. Our combined joint forces have relentlessly destroyed Iran's air defenses over the past few days, and they've continued hunting for more systems to kill. Our air defenders are operating at the very top of their game. I couldn't be prouder, shoulder to shoulder with our partners in the region in many cases, providing the most integrated air defense network in Middle East history. We are fighting to win. Through combined U.S. and Israeli combat power, we will continue decimating Iran's ability to project power outside its borders. And if I can just conclude by saying a strong salute to the brave men and women who are out on the pointy edge of this, really doing exceptional work. I just couldn't be prouder, and I know the American people share in that same pride. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll take a few questions. Yeah, right here.
Sir, appreciate it. I wanted to ask, Mr. Secretary, the Iranian president said today that the U.S. has asked for specific capabilities because of shadow drones, Iranian drones. Can you guys talk about what you asked for, and has there been any surprises from Iranian capabilities that you guys have seen in the past 6 days?
Go ahead. We're very familiar with Iranian's capabilities, and as you might imagine, we planned for it right from the outset, and I feel good about what the plan was. Like any good organization, we adjust as necessary to meet the environment, and we've made those appropriate adjustments.
Absolutely. Right here.
Just a quick update here for you guys. So I've heard other reports of people having issues with Amazon, and another. We've had some sporadic reports. Possibly another Amazon Web Services data center was struck. Again, waiting to get some more confirmation on that for you, but I've heard a bunch of people, even here stateside, having issues connecting to certain Amazon services, including just the main Amazon website as well, for some things as well. Again, not sure if that's directly related to the downing of those possibly 2 or 3 now Amazon Web Services data centers. Another quick thing to note here on our Beirut camera. This one's behind a few seconds. Look at that updated. This one as well. On our Beirut camera here, we have a flight coming in. Again, we'll take a look at that on flight radar right now. This one is actually not on, unless it's this one here, but this is, again, way out at sea. The flight that we just saw here come in, right here, is not currently on flight radar. Let me update. Yeah, because that's literally landing at... That's literally landing at the airport right now, which I believe is this strip here. So it's probably already... Yeah, it's probably already landing on the airstrip. But what's interesting is I do not see it on flight radar currently. And we're also not picking it up on ADS-B currently either. So again, that's something to keep an eye on here. All right, let's continue listening in to. Oh, looks like our broadcast for the evacuation out of Beirut has ended as well. All right, we'll get those feeds refreshed here, but again, I just thought it was worth noting that.
Today in Iraq, and 2, I've heard reports that there's enriched uranium stored in Isfahan. I'm also heard reports that there's not a lot of bombing there. Is that on purpose? Do we believe there's enriched uranium there? Would we ever send special forces to secure it?
As Sentcom pointed out, that those reports of an F-15 being shot down are false. As you can imagine, Iran is doing everything it can to peddle in lies, deception, and inflation of numbers in reality, mostly to propagandize to their own people, right? They've shut down the internet. They're hoping they can convince their own population that they're having success. One thing one of their leaders said recently is that 500 Americans have been killed, they claim. These are lies. The lies will continue. Sentcom will continue to debunk those lies. So, and as often is the case in conflict, first reports are often wrong. As it pertains to nuclear material and things like that, one of the objectives the president has always said is that Iran will not have a nuclear bomb, nuclear capabilities, but we would never disclose what we will or will not do inside operational plans. So Admiral Cooper's got a plan. We're working that plan, and targets will be struck or not struck according to what we want to achieve. Yeah, right there.
Sorry, guys, just another quick update here. It actually has been confirmed that 3 or more of those Amazon data centers have been struck now. So in my early report, I had said 2. At that time, it was actually 3. And possibly a 4th has also been struck now. So that's 4 Amazon Web Service data centers, again, have been struck. Again, I'm trying to get some more information on that for you as well. Let's continue listening here.
Secretary Hegseth, the president said earlier today in an interview that he would like to have a say in who's the next leader of Iran. Is this an expansion of your military objective? Do you view it that way? And additionally, you spoke earlier today about how previous leaders have drawn resources from our hemisphere to the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
How do you avoid that?
Well, there's no expansion. Ultimately, I think the president's having a heck of a say in who runs Iran, given the ongoing operation we have. So there's no expansion in our objectives. We know exactly what we're trying to achieve. I think today's a great example of what this War Department is capable of doing. I was just in another part of Florida today where we announced, America's counter cartel conference. 18 countries coming together from Central, South America, and the Caribbean, coming together to fight cartels. That is something that is ongoing. We're focused there. We're focused in the Indo-Pacific. We can mass combat power in Sentcom. EUCOM is able to support that as well. So we know we're laser focused on our hemisphere and our homeland. That's why we locked down the border. That's why we're working with partners to take on cartels. That's why we're sinking drug boats. That's why we're on the offense there. But the beautiful things about combatant commands is that, Brad Cooper's laser focused on Central Command, just like Frank Donovan is laser focused on Southern Command. We can do both. That's what a global power can do. Ultimately, this issue of Iran's nuclear pursuit and their unwillingness through negotiations to stop it was something President Trump has said for a long time needs to be dealt with. And after 47 years, he's doing something that no other president was willing to do. And we're doing it overwhelmingly, and we're doing it decisively, while also in other parts of the globe having the desired effects. I mean, take, for example, what we displayed yesterday, the Iranian ship in the Indian Ocean, sunk by Indo-PACOM, another combatant command, who coordinated with us in order to make that happen. So America's reach is global. Our focus here, though, these missions are narrow, they're scoped, and Admiral Cooper is well on his way to ensuring that we reach those objectives. Right here, yes, sir. The Iranian ship.
The Ukrainians are talking about providing low-cost interceptors, given their experience. Is that something that the Pentagon is looking for? And Admiral Cooper, can you walk us through a little bit about how effective the Lucas drones have been, what kind of targets they've hit, and how much that's helped, given that they're low-cost alternative to a more expensive helium?
Go ahead.
Sure. I'm not familiar with the particular offer, but interceptors in general. We've had a number of new capabilities being fielded. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about it from an operational perspective of what those are. But I think you have seen over a period of time us kind of get on the other side of this cost curve on drones in general. If I just walk back a couple of years, you remember what you used to always hear, we're shooting down a $50,000 drone with a $2 million missile. These days, we're spending a lot of time shooting down $100,000 drones with $10,000 weapons from ours. So that's one aspect of it. Lucas, indispensable, as many of you know, and if you don't know, this was an original Iranian drone design. We captured it, pulled the guts out, sent it back to America, put a little Made America on it, brought it back here, and we're shooting it at the Iranians. Good targets.
Good targets. Absolutely. Right there, yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Secretary. President Trump, in his first speech after the launch of the Operation Epic Fury, he addressed Iranian people and he said that there is going to be a time for you to come out. Now, stay home. It's not safe. I want to know if there is a timeline for that you're going to urge Iranian people to come out, how that is going to play out, and how are you going to protect the protesters? You know that they're going to be shot probably, as we witnessed in January. That's what happened. How are you going to protect and support the protesters? And Admiral, I have one question for you. How are you going to minimize the civilian harms? We have a lot of evidence that the Basij units, IRGC commanders, they are now gathering in schools, in hospitals, in purely residential areas because their headquarters are bombarded, they are ruined, of course. So how are you going to protect the civilians while you're attacking the IRGC people hard? Thank you.
I would just say on the protests, obviously the Iranian people showed a lot of courage in those protests, and we saw the Iranian regime was revealed for what it is in the way they reacted to that. The world saw that. No one's done more than President Trump to reopen the opportunity for those who want a free Iran to do so. Ultimately, it's common sense, as he said up front. Don't go out and protest while bombs are dropping inside Tehran and elsewhere. So there will come a moment where he determines, or they determine, that it's the time to seize that advantage. But there's a lot of things we're doing and the Israeli military is doing, targeting those individuals who are targeting those who protest. The more you do that and you erode their will and you erode their capabilities, the more you create an opportunity for people to boldly stand up.
Yeah, I would just reinforce the point. We're targeting the people. We're targeting the headquarters and the people who are targeting the protesters, first and foremost. I'd also just double down on the president's comments that he previously made to the people. Stay in your homes, keep things calm, stay out of the way. There's a lot of U.S. and Israeli capacity coming over. We're hitting a lot of targets. The best thing for them to do for right now is just to lay low.
Right here.
One common outcome outcome of American military action in the past has been taking in thousands of refugees into the American homeland, and I'm wondering if there's any safeguards put in place to make sure that the American people aren't having to have another wave of refugees from the Middle East or anywhere else come and stay here.
I think it's safe to say there's no plan for a wave of new Middle Eastern refugees to the United States of America. I think, as the president has pointed out for a long time, there are a lot of countries in the region who would be capable of providing that kind of support if need be, but that's certainly not something we're planning on. Yep, back there. Yep.
Yes, sir. Michael in Washington Times. I wanted to ask, I know, semper gumby is always a truism in the military. Did the British decision to refuse Diego Garcia have any impact on the mission itself? you have to adjust, or were you able to just completely,
My bad, ladies and gentlemen. My my microphone was muted there again. I was just saying that we saw that flight coming in. Geez, let me recap here. Okay, first of all, we've still seen smoke here coming up out of Beirut again after that last IDF strike. We're probably going to see more strikes again by the IDF here shortly. I'm seeing some reports that we might be seeing some other strikes occurring here in these Beirut suburbs. Words are hard. Suburbs here in the coming hours. But I had noticed that flight coming across the sky here on this feed. That's the second flight we've noticed out of Beirut that did not have a transponder on during its landing. This one is the one that just landed here. Again, came in on this airstrip and has taxied here. Second one that we've noticed that has come in without its transponder on, which I find interesting because up until this point, transponders have been on for these aircraft as they come in. Another thing that I was mentioning, geez, I went through a whole bunch of stuff with my mic muted, my bad. But, okay, so we have a few flights here to notice. So Tel Aviv to Madrid, this is a Boeing 737 passenger jet, one of the first that we've actually seen coming out of Tel Aviv over the past, 12 hours, which is interesting to note. However, the big key thing here is, okay, so you have Mobile 3.5. Mobile 3.5 and Yeti 3.1 are coming out of the AO, all right? So those two are coming out of the AO. You also have this guy here, all right? He's one of the other KC-135s that came out of Tel Aviv. So there's three that came out of Tel Aviv. One is still in the area of operations here above Iraq, in Iraqi airspace. The other two have headed for home, all right? And then you have this guy here, all right? This refueler just took off from Tel Aviv along with this one and this one, all right? Those are the three coming in for shift change into Iraq. One Stratotanker always has to kind of stay up to help refuel the other fighter aircraft and reconnaissance aircraft or whatever other assets you have in this airspace here over Iraq, kind of western Iran there, Syria, etc. All right, so he's gonna loiter here, and then when these other three finally make it into the AO, he's gonna head home and return to Tel Aviv, just like these other two have here. Okay. Some other things worthy of noting. We have again that Saab 2000 that we've seen the past few days. Again, loitering here again. And then one thing to notice here is King Fahd International Airport. I've noticed over the past 12 hours there's been an increase in civilian air traffic into this airport specifically. And I've seen some other reports of people making it out of Bahrain and some of these other cities through this airport. So I believe they're running more evacuation flights out of this airport here. As I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, I had a guy that I spoke to that's in Qatar, and he had actually made it out on a flight, not from that airport, but from another airport in this region here last time I had spoken to him. Another thing worth noting here is earlier I spoke about how Dubai International Airport is running at a pretty severe limited capacity. This is one of the busiest airports in the world, as I mentioned earlier in tonight's broadcast, okay? And again, usually they're looking at about 1,000 to 2,000 flights per day in between there. And since this war started, they've been reduced in capacity down to anywhere between 10 and 15-ish, kind of around 12 flights a day. Over the past 12 hours or so, and I'm watching these radar feeds, this ADS-B, I'm watching ADS-B, I'm watching flight radar off screen while I'm doing this stream with you guys. And even when these streams are down, I'm still watching this stuff. And out of the corner of my eye, I had been noticing more and more aircraft coming out of Dubai. I think, again, there's been kind of an uptick here. They're probably more operating around 20-ish aircraft a day now out of Dubai, again, or at least for today so far. It's been a little bit busier than usual, so I just kind of wanted to kind of update on what I had touched on with Dubai earlier. Again, I had said about 12 aircraft per day. So far my count here is 15-ish. So again, I think there's a little bit of an uptick in flights coming in and out of Dubai International Again, as people try to get the hell out of Dodge here in some of these areas. Again, they're really desperate to get these civilian flights out of the region to get people, again, out of harm's way. But, again, just something to keep in mind here. Again, we still have our drone loitering there. Some other civilian flights. We do have a KC-2 Voyager here. So, okay, and we've seen this over the past few days. What's new is the drone. What's not new is the KC-2 Voyager. Again, this refueler aircraft. This is a British refueler. Again, RAF, Royal Air Force. This is up here to help refuel some of the other fighter aircraft that are in this airspace here. Again, they are protecting against UAVs that are coming from Lebanon and attacking Cyprus, or UAVs that might be coming from Iran and attacking Cyprus as well. Also, to add to that, I do believe the RAF probably have a early warning aircraft that's in this vicinity here, or possibly even further into the east, into the theater of operations here. That's, again, keeping an eye out for drones being launched or missiles being launched to let, again, any forces or partners that are in this region here operating know, so that they can intercept those drones. Again, apologies for having the microphone muted there again. I gotta get that under control. But as for the Beirut feed here, again, we're still looking at this column of smoke coming up here out of the Beirut skyline. I have a few other feeds. This is another one out of Beirut. Tel Aviv still live. Jerusalem is still live. Of course, our two Beiruts. And then okay, so we do have this other Beirut feed as well. So we have 3 separate Beirut feeds coming out, again, of Lebanon at the moment. All 3 are live currently. 4 if you want to count the Reuters feed, but the Reuters feed is the exact same as the CGTN feed. They're coming from the same camera. And then our Qatar feed did go down, so I will I'll look and see if I can find another one for Doha, Qatar. But again, let's go ahead. Let's just finish off that press briefing here. I know they were getting some answers from the press here. Let's go ahead and give that a listen.
Go with the mission without any worry.
Well, as the president stated, it was unfortunate that that the Brits didn't, from day one, say, "Hey, go ahead."
Sorry, real quick. Oliver says NATO 2.9 over Turkey's early warning bird. Yes, for Turkey. However, you got to keep in mind these. Where the hell is NATO 2.9? So NATO 2.9 is an E3A Sentry. Okay. One second here. I'm getting some statistics, just so I make sure that my information is correct. All right, so an E3A Sentry early warning, its coverage, its radar coverage, is only about 250 miles. Okay, so about a circle about this big. Okay, probably about this big. Yeah, I would say about yay big. All right. This is offering early warning for missiles that are coming into Turkey specifically, all right? This is the aircraft that detected the ballistic missiles inbound, I mean, along with other radar installations, of course, within Turkey. But this aircraft here is what alerted Turkish military of, and alerted NATO, arguably, to that launch of that ballistic missile entering its airspace earlier today. Cyprus, as well as the U.S., are operating, so the British and the U.S. are operating other early warning aircraft within this area of operations here that do not have their transponders on, okay? It's a very strategic asset having those early warning aircraft operating in this airspace here. So they're going to keep those transponders off. They are operating over Syria, Iraq. These refuelers are refueling those early warning aircraft, all right? And those are the primary early warning aircraft that are protecting Cyprus, Israel, and then, of course, down here, protecting these Gulf states. So you most likely have early warning aircraft operating in, again, over the Persian Gulf, Gulf of Oman, maybe even into southern Iran, maybe. That's a big maybe on that one. Again, I imagine they're probably just hovering around this area here. Again, Arabian Sea, Gulf of Oman, Persian Gulf, and then you have other early warning aircraft that are operating over Syria, Jordan, Iraq, in this kind of western flank here, next to Iran. And those are the early warning aircraft that are protecting everything that's over here and protecting everything that is over here. NATO 29 right now is primarily focused on protecting Turkey from any missile launches, possible drone launches that are coming out of Iran. So again, let's go ahead and finish. I got to get that press release finished, guys, so we can move on here. Dennis asks, I'm sure you covered this already, but what's your take on that thermal vid of the torpedo hit on that ship? Again, I've seen a lot of footage coming out today. In fact, I believe there was even some in that video I uploaded earlier. But again, don't really have a take on it at this moment in time. Anthony says, great call sign for a tanker. Indeed. Indeed. Hold on, I'm just reading back in the chat here. Gallon Tech says, I know you want to help Nemico, but your mouse can't hit anything down there. Yeah, my bad. I had my microphone muted while we were watching that press relief there. Too Tall says, situation awareness score 0. Yeah, again, my bad. Dennis said, blink twice if you're okay. Anthony said, what if Iran cut his audio? I was so in-depth on giving you guys the details here, I hardly realized that my mic was off. There's a big red light on it, too, that is glowing right in my face, and I'm surprised I did not notice. Yeah, CM112 said, I feel like he's giving the greatest comms ever, too. I was giving some really good stuff there. Kind of sucks you guys missed out on that. But at least I gave you the gist when I got my mic. When my mic re-enabled there. But yeah, the thing that initiated me to kind of go into that whole spiel was I saw that aircraft coming over the Beirut feed here. All right, give me 1 second. We're gonna get this press release out of the way so we can move on to more important stuff here. Dan Best says there are a half dozen commercial airline flights over the North Atlantic currently with destinations Tel Aviv, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi. Yeah, so a lot. So I was reading some reports earlier, and most of the flights coming back into the region are nearly empty. And then again, the flights going out are full as people try to get out. All right, let's get this press release. Words are hard today. Yeah, Roddy Mom says you were on a roll, too. Indeed, I was. Gunny Bunny says he saw tracers on the... I imagine you're... Oh, wow, I think I just saw... Oh, yeah, perfect timing. Talk about perfect timing to get this feed updated and turn the audio up. Another strike just occurred here in Beirut. And believe it or not, I had the audio down on these. I don't know how I managed that. So yeah, I was talking about the feeds here. Again, we have 3 Beirut feeds currently. 1 out of CGTN Europe. You can see the smoke rising there. 1 out of CGTN, and then 1 out of Associated Press. This one here is showing the explosion. And you can hear the Sky Lawnmower up above in the air still at this time. AP is lacking right now on the pan tilt zoom. For once, CGTN is taking the initiative here and getting us the clip, getting us the footage. Yeah, usually AP is really good about. Oh, looks like they are moving the camera now. Yeah, I don't know why, but this one here is... So these are the same feeds, this one and the one in the corner. There we go. But they're like... they're literally both live. But this one, for some reason, like a few seconds behind. Let me switch over... I'll switch over to this one here. Let me get this one up, too. This one's a little bit better, I think. Oh, wait, actually, this one's live. There we go. This one's a little bit better exposure. Yeah, so we have this one coming out of CGTN Europe. This one's just good old CGTN, and this one is AP. And you can see, again, that strike there that just occurred in Beirut. Anthony says that blast was about 6 seconds from flash to boom, so that would put us at just over a mile. So camera is just over a mile from that blast there. Again, that shows the power of these telescopic zoom lenses that they are using there. Yeah, so, bummer we didn't have eyes on via one of these feeds. Because... Oh, and I don't want that. Hold on. We want this one. We want this one on screen for the bottom right. Yeah, because we could have clipped that one. There was really not much to clip. Ill-Minded says, night strikes in Beirut have been a little rare. No, they have not been rare at all. In fact, we've been seeing them almost constantly for the past... I think we're going on night 3 now. Yeah, I believe this is night 3 of heavy strikes in Beirut all night and even strikes all day as well. I think we had like, I want to say like 12, 10 or 12 one of these nights here over the past few days. Anthony asks, are those the same camera? No. So bottom right, you're getting... so we have 3 separate feeds if you look at the main screen here. This is the main feed that we've been utilizing. Again, that's Associated Press. This secondary feed is CGTN. Again, that's a Chinese news agency that's operating. They're all on the same rooftop, kind of. I think they're like on adjacent buildings, possibly even the same rooftop. But these are separate cameras, and then this is CGTN Europe, also a separate camera. Again, I think they're all located pretty much right next to each other. We did some geolocation on this the other night, and we're showing kind of roughly where these cameras are located. Yeah, as Too Tall says, strikes are intensifying tonight. That is for sure. Alright, so we got our feed in the bottom right going. We're going to switch over and finish this press release here so we can just get this out of the way.
And have access, but we got there. We got there, and that's now part of the way that we're operationalizing bomber runs. And that's part of when we say more to come, it's more fighter squadrons, it's more capabilities, it's more defensive capabilities, and it's more bomber pulses more frequently. The amount of firepower over Iran and over Tehran is about to surge dramatically. And part of it is that we're going to have even more basing. And it's not just the UK. We've had other friends step up, and we're grateful for that. Maybe one more right here.
Yeah, the Azeri president earlier today basically authorized his Minister of Defense to begin preparing troops for some type of retaliatory action after the airport strike. As the Department of War and Sentcom is working on deconflicting with the Azeri if they were to move in or attempt something in retaliation.
I'm sure there are plans, and I'll let the Admiral speak to that. But that does allow me to kind of address this idea that the war might be expanding or there's chaos, and nothing could be further from the truth. If anything, what Iran is doing by targeting allied countries that would otherwise want to stay out of this, they've actually pulled them into the American orbit. So now you've got UAE.
Yeah, I was talking about this in that video I put up here today. It's just like all of these countries that have been broiled by direct strikes in Iran has just kind of put them in a worse position. And like, again, kind of empowered some of these countries to possibly get further involved and potentially go on the offensive. I know we've heard rumors of like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, some of these other Gulf countries that have been struck, possibly, again, maybe going into more of an offensive capacity here in the coming days and weeks, especially if more strikes continue to occur. But at the very least, them, again, going into getting more involved, maybe in a defensive role, getting more involved in aiding the U.S., again, it has arguably made things worse for the Iranians.
And Qatar and Bahrain and Saudi and Kuwait and others saying, hey, we're with you. We'll shoot with you. We'll fly with you. We'll defend with you. We'll allow you more basing and other opportunities, a lot of which we can't talk about and won't talk about. But it's actually firming up the unity of the resistance in order to focus exactly where we need to. So this idea that it's expanding or going, no, it's actually simplifying in a number of ways exactly what we need to achieve and how we'll achieve it. I don't know if you anything
I
to
won't
add to that.
I won't get out of policy ahead of policy in terms of what we might do. What I will point out is this is now the 12th country that Iran has attacked. 12 countries, and it goes right back to the Secretary's point. Those 12 countries are none too happy, and I look forward to working with all the partners who are willing to join us in this.
And I would just close by saying, sure.
Concerned about security here at home with the change-up that we're going to see at the Department of Homeland Security?
Well, I think Kristi Noem did an excellent job over there securing our border and keeping us focused on threats, and the President making a change. We all serve at the pleasure of the President. I'm sure Mark Wayne Mullen will do a fantastic job. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. But Kristi did a great job setting us up for success. So I don't have any concerns about whether or not the homeland will be covered down on. And I'll just end by saying I wish every American could get a chance to see what we see. I had a chance to go into the control room, into the Tactical Operations Center, go see these young men and women that are doing this, the dedication that they show at every level, the way they've refined their craft. I'm talking to a young colonel who's iterating on how we target and how we find and fix different aspects of what the Iranians are trying to do. If they don't know what they're up against. And if they think they've got it solved for, they're wrong. And ultimately, the combination of our ingenuity, the skill, the professionalism, the discipline, and then the sheer weight of the capabilities of the U.S. military, what you're going to see may look routine. It may start to be like, oh, another boat. Oh, another launcher. Oh, another drone facility. What it takes to do this with the precision that we do is world-class. No one else can do it. And it's world-class Americans. Like the ones I saw here, like the ones that are coming home that we're going to greet home, that are the engine of what makes our country great. And so I'm so grateful for folks like those here at Sentcom, at Central Command, who are under your command. Thank you for your
Liquid and Light Aerospace in the chat asks, is that a sky mower over Beirut? Sounds closer than it's been before. Yes, it sounds a lot closer currently. I'm also hearing that on the feed. Smoke rising here. So we've had strikes here and here now. We got two columns of smoke here rising above the Beirut skyline.
Decisive leadership, and all I'll say to you is what I say to them: keep going, because the President and myself, we have your back. Thank you, Admiral. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you all.
All right, and that about sums up our press release there from Central Command and Pete Hegseth. Again, keeping our eyes focused here on the skyline of Beirut. I'm going to go to our X feed here, and we're just going to get you guys updated on all the latest that has come in. Again, these are just statements that came from that video we literally just watched. 10 minutes ago, Hezbollah hideouts in southern Lebanon right now. This is, again, a strike that occurred. Again, this is in southern Lebanon, so not Beirut, but pretty close there. You can see quite a bit of smoke covering the Beirut skyline. Jerusalem and Tel Aviv looking pretty peaceful at the moment. Typical Kiwi asks, any update on the army into southern Lebanon with the tanks? Yeah, so again, they have been successfully holding territory there. For a few days now. They moved over the border. What you see in red here is territory that they have presumably taken and are in control of, or at least some of these areas here. Again, where the blue is, or this purple here, is where we had confirmed geolocated reports of where they've moved over the border into Lebanon and begun to hold territory. But we've heard reports that, you know, even like basically this red shaded area here is again currently under IDF control, or at least they're contesting this right now with Hezbollah to take control of this area, so that Hezbollah cannot utilize this portion of southern Lebanon to launch drones and missiles into Israel again along this border here. Other than that, there hasn't been too much. There's been sporadic reports and pictures coming out, you know, like of them, you know, taking this position, or, you know, getting into a gunfight here, etc., or striking this target here, you know. But other than that, there hasn't been too much. Again, going back over here to our open source intelligence feed, more of that same stuff that we just talked about. So our attack count again was 11 when I started this report. It is now 12. So 12 countries have been directly struck by Iran with munitions since the start of this conflict. That's 12 countries that have been, again, kinetically targeted. We have air raid alerts coming in right now, actually.
Metula.
Up in Metula along that border. The border that I was literally just showing you guys. Here's Metula here. Can expect there probably to be more here pretty quick. Liquid Light Aerospace asks... Alright, sorry. Typical Kiwi asks, is there a high ground zone in southern Lebanon, just like the Golan Heights, where a defensive position can be held? Yes, there are a few kind of high terrain areas. In fact, I can bring up our terrain map from the other night. Give me one moment here. So this is our height and elevation map above southern Lebanon. This is the border here. So this is a high point here, this kind of mountain range, ridge line here, and then you have this as well. So yeah, potentially some of this could be utilized. Potentially some of this could be utilized as defensive positions, potentially. To what extent, though? Especially with the IDF striking them so hard from the air. Again, that remains to be seen. So some footage from Sentcom here. Again, shows a B-52 taking off for a mission over Iran. Again, dropping bombs on the Islamic regime command and control missile silos. Hold on, let me get a control of this audio, ladies and gentlemen. This is getting a little out of control here. Yeah, she's a little spicy. The audio's coming in a little spicy, little picante here. Let's lower those down. Again, more statements that we just saw in that press briefing there. Again, it was confirmed that report of that downing of that fighter jet, that U.S. fighter jet in Iran, was debunked. Sorry, give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Again, more of those statements here. From Sentcom 40 minutes ago, over 30 Iranian ships have been sunk so far. That's quite a few. US B-2 bombers were used in the last hour of strikes against targets in Iran. So again, that's fresh. Looks like this post is unavailable. There is footage of those B-52s taking off. Again, I'm trying to get that up for you here. Evan Johnson asks, what kind of rockets does Hezbollah have? They have a couple different munitions. They have a pretty last reported earlier in well, actually like late 2025. They had a pretty massive arsenal, about 120,000 to 200,000 rockets and missiles. Some range from like short range stuff to some long range precision guided stuff. Again, mostly supplied by Iran and Syria. Their inventory includes stuff like like Grad, Fajr 5. I think they have like some Zizal, Fateh 11, like the Fateh 110s. They have some like anti-tank stuff like Cornet, and also like some anti-ship stuff. How good those are, and like how old they are, remains to be seen. And if they've been able to maintain them again, kind of remains to be seen. But they do have a good variety of missiles at their disposal. Doug Wilson, good to see you back, says, any action? Yes, we've been watching strikes out of Beirut here. As you can see, there's some smoke rising from two different spots here. What we've been seeing, I think since the start of this stream, we've probably seen, 3 or 4 strikes here in Beirut, I'm pretty sure. Alright, so just get refreshed here. And of course, X is giving me a hard time. We might have to come back to that one. We'll take a look at our latest 5 posts from our live universal awareness map here. Let me see here. RNM asks, do we have any tanks or anything on the ground or in transport? If you're talking about U.S. assets, no. And as I've mentioned a couple times here, we won't be needing that. The Kurds do. The Kurds currently have a bunch of assets that are moving towards the border with Iran. Yeah, Suicide Jockey says they are a pretty sizable threat. So, again, looking at our last, 5 posts, we'll go through our last 5 posts in the Iranian live UA map and the Israel-Palestine live UA map as well. Give me 1 second here. We'll go to this one. All right. Yeah, we'll start with the Israel one. 9 minutes ago, Israeli airstrikes target civilian homes in the town of Maraka, southern Lebanon. You can see where that is geolocated here. 14 minutes ago, Israeli airstrikes targets Harat Harik in the southern suburbs of Beirut. We saw those strikes on camera just a few minutes ago. 14 minutes ago, Israeli artillery shelling in the city of Qaim in southern Lebanon. You can see where that is located here. So notice this, okay? 14 minutes ago, they again shelled targets here, and then what did we get right after? We had those air raid alerts that just came in for Metula, which is right here. So again, that was kind of a response by Hezbollah forces. Again, this area here in blue is currently being contested for, I believe. 18 minutes ago, heavy shelling of Revolutionary Guard positions in Isfahan, Iran. I just showed you guys an image of Isfahan just a short while ago. 19 minutes ago, a 4th airstrike targeted Burj al-Barjene in the southern suburbs. Again, also in Iran there. Keep in mind, this is the airport here. Our cameras are located right up in here. So these are all the strikes that we're seeing, that we've been seeing here, guys. And again, the camera is located here. I geolocated it the other night. In fact, these are the 2 buildings, and this is the courtyard that I was working off of. Our cameras are right here in this chunk, somewhere in this chunk here. And so they're pointing out this way towards these strikes and these strikes over here. And that's why we could see that airport down there in the background. I'm not sure if you guys could see this, what I'm trying to show you here. Yeah, this is the chunk right here where our cameras are located on one of the buildings in this region. This, if you look at the topographical maps here, this is kind of like high ground along here, and some of the buildings are up higher than the rest of the city, so they're able to see out a little farther there. But yeah, I think when I measured it, it was like 2,000 meters from where they're filming out to like the airport here. "19 minutes ago, a new Israeli strike targets the southern suburbs of Beirut." I'm pretty sure this is this is one of those. In fact, I think this one here is this one that you're seeing here, if I'm not mistaken. Footage of intense airstrikes on the city of Bushehr in southern Iran. I showed you that footage earlier tonight, actually. And about an hour ago, an airstrike targeted the Bekaa Valley between Brital and Tayyebe. That's in, again, that's kind of like northern Lebanon, actually. So strikes are even carrying out way up into here. A large deployment of Lebanese Army's 6th Intervention Regiment at the entrances to Zal and municipal police in the heart of Zal coincided with an exodus from towns of Baalbek that were warned of in evacuation. So, over the past, like, 12 to 15 hours this year, I've read a few reports about, again, Lebanese army operating in these areas. Again, they're kind of, like, trying to run damage control here right now. They don't want their country to continue to be bombing by the IDF. So they're trying their best to get the Hezbollah militants under control here in an effort to curb and, you know, kind of stop the IDF airstrikes there. Switching over to our Iran map here. 9 minutes ago, Saudi Ministry of Defense says an interception and destruction of 3 ballistic missiles launched towards the Prince Sultan Air Base there. You can see it's not too far from Riyadh. 22 minutes ago, heavy shelling of the Revolutionary Guard positions in Isfahan. Again, I showed you that image a few minutes ago. A 4th airstrike was targeted at Burj al Barjaneh in the southern suburbs. Again, that's Lebanon. And then about an hour ago, Hegseth in a statement says Iran is spreading rumors that it is achieving success. Of course, we were expecting this. We're expecting to see this this sort of stuff from Iran there. And we'll switch back over here to our Beirut cam here. Bubba asks, hello all, how long do you think before India and Syria enter this war, or are the chances low? For India, I think the chances are pretty low. Syria, it's a bit higher, but again, I think both, probably, at least at this moment, the chances of both of those getting involved are pretty low. They're not impossible. There's always the possibility. But at the moment, I think it's pretty low. So, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the recorded portion of tonight's stream. Again, I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that I was going to be recording kind of the first portion of this stream as I went through updates and stuff. We got a little sidetracked along the line. There was some stuff that I wanted to get to that we didn't necessarily get to for this recorded section. And there was some stuff that I didn't necessarily plan on getting to that we decided to cover. Again, mostly getting sidetracked by these live strikes that we're seeing out of Beirut. But again, I wanted to get kind of something recorded, like the first 2 to 3 hours-ish recorded that I could upload to YouTube for those to watch later as something that can kind of update them on what's been going on. We're going to end that recorded portion off now. Don't worry, don't go anywhere. The live stream is continuing. The live stream will continue. Again, I'm just kind of announcing here now that I'm going to end off that recording here so I can get that uploaded to YouTube so that later, if there's anybody that missed this stream, or at least this first part of the stream, I know we got people in different time zones and people that are working and stuff. Due to backed by popular demand, I'm doing it, at least temporarily, possibly over the next couple days to a week here. I'll be doing this where I record like the first portion of the stream where I kind of run through updates and get people updated on what's been going on. Again, I stress that if you want a good bottom line up front, if you want a good overall update on what's been going on, or if you have somebody that needs to be updated on what's been going on here in the Middle East, highly recommend you send them over to my video that I just uploaded on the YouTube channel. Again, that's titled How the Iran War is Bigger Than You Think. Again, put a lot of work into that, kind of, again, making a quick but in-depth update. Again, it's only about 13 minutes long because I wanted, I didn't want it to make, some super long, 1 hour thing, that people are going to get bored of watching. I wanted something that was kind of quick, to the point, but had enough details and stuff to really, help you wrap your mind around the situation. So highly recommend either you guys go check that out or you share it to somebody that might need to know more about what's going on here. For those watching on YouTube currently as a recording, all right, if you're watching this back as a recording after it was uploaded, you can find links to everything in the description below. If you want to join the network, there's a link to our our Discord over there. Over there on the Discord, you can get 24/7 open source intelligence updates, not only posted by us, but posted by members of the community as well. So super useful. You can get analysis over there, community-driven analysis, people's kind of thoughts about what's going on, and you can, most importantly, join in on the community discussion. There's some other resources over there as well. Keep in mind, I'll be updating that here in the coming days. I'm going to be restructuring the Discord, changing some channels around, adding some ranks, adding some new moderators, etc. So keep an eye out for those changes. I'll probably make a post about that to announce that stuff. There's also a link in the description to our X feed. That's x.com/Nemico Network. Again, over there you can get 24/7 open source intelligence updates around the clock, aggregated from sources all over the web, as well as curated open source intelligence updates from us directly as well. So it's a really well-rounded feed full of really good news over there. Let me see, what else do we got? Again, if you like this content, if you like this analysis, hit the like button below. If you're watching the stream right now, hit the like button below if you haven't already. Again, it gets the algorithm's attention. If you're watching this back as a recording after it was live, hit the like button on this video. Again, it helps support the channel a lot. Speaking of which, if you're interested in supporting what we do, again, the best way to do it is to hit that like button or hit the subscribe button. But there's always links to where you can further support us in the description below. Again, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Make sure that notification bell says all, so you're always getting notified whenever our new videos or live streams are uploaded to YouTube. I think that's about it. Open source intelligence tools, yeah. So if you have a need for open source intelligence tools, you can find those in the. There's some links to some of them in the description below. Some others you can find over on the Discord server, and of course I'm going to be updating that entire open source intelligence tools list here in the coming days. We'll be putting a whole bunch of good ones over there for you guys, so keep an eye out for that. Again, this is just for the ones that, again, are watching this video back, not live. If you're on YouTube and you're watching this video after we've done this live stream and I've uploaded this to YouTube, again, I appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, you are watching Nemico Network.